Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to a very nasal Asylum podcast, episode 68. Boy, it's been a long time. It's been quite a while. We've been away. I've been on holiday myself. I've came back. I went away for a couple of weeks. Come back and caught the lurgy on the way back, as you always seem to, or at least I always seem to do. Coming back on the plane, it's like you stick a couple of hundred people in a small metal can and share it. Someone is bound to have some sort of illness on there which spreads around. So yes, lovely. So then I've had another 2 weeks or so of being ill. But that's me. Madness is also joining me, as always. Welcome. Thank you.
Your wife's joining us as well.
And I think his wife is also backseating it.
She's joining the podcast. My wife is a massive NFL fan. She loves
it's the season.
NFL.
Who's playing?
She loves the NFL. She's watching the news, so she's catching up. She's very passionate.
I can hear.
She's very passionate. She's very passionate about the end. She gets very stressed. She's very passionate. Wait until she starts hearing me start talking about StarCitizen. You'll start hearing her saying, "It's a fucking scam." Once she goes, "If it fails, what's everyone going to do? Are they going to sue Chris Roberts?" He's like, "What are you going to do?" She says, I would sue that son of a bitch." I was like, wow, okay. That's my wife for you. She's not a fan. She's not a fan.
She's a fan of NFL, not a fan of StarCitizen.
She's an NFL fan. She's not a fan of StarCitizen. She's not a fan, I think, of the amount of money and the fact that so many people, I think she says, seem to be deluded.
What do you mean? We've all only put like 25 quid in. What are you on about?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing. She's like, and she sees just the credit bill, going. She's. I keep explaining. I've got more back than I've invested. So, but she doesn't see it like that.
Yeah, it doesn't help when you keep buying new ships.
This is the first year I think I can honestly say, I'm pretty sure I haven't spent a penny on ships at all this year. I think I'll have to double check, but I don't think I spent a penny on ships. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, it's nice to be back. We've been away, like you say, we've been away for quite a few weeks. I think with you gone, and like we spoke about this before. It's like with the state of the game, and I've said this on my stream as well. I play the patches now. If I play anything more than that, I just turn into a massive rage ball of just pure. Why am I sat in this freaking air helicopter whatever mode / death trap
Depeche mode,
forced to sit here for 16 minutes? It's like, why am I playing this, and why is CIG forcing me still to do this? It's like, and they still haven't fixed ESP, and aim assist sucks ass because it steals all the joy from my kills and all these things. And I kind of rage. So I realized that those things are too great. So I just put them away and I go, okay, well, I'm just going to enjoy the patch when the new stuff comes out, check out the new content, and then I'm cool, and then maybe I'll jump in like with Detox or some other people when they're playing some ops and see what all the fun is. Because when I see all the fun is, I know what the fun is. I used to do it. You know what I mean? It's like I did it plenty of times previously with orgs and stuff. So for me, it's, I pop in now and again and just, fly around. And that's usually, an hour or two is enough time for me to kind of start to get like an irritable twitch where I'm just like, oh, why am I playing this? I'd rather go play Borderlands, which we have been doing.
We have. So that's the other thing as well, is when there's other games out there which are appealing to you and make you want to play, then it's we've said it to other people many times in the past that if you're not enjoying it, take a break, go and play something that you are enjoying, or go and play something that you appeals to you, because like at the end of the day, they know, StarCitizen know, we know that it's not a game at the moment. They're working towards building a game. But that's it. It's like if you try to play it like it's a game constantly, then that's where you're getting the issues. So yeah, playing it, enjoying aspects of it, looking at what's coming up. We're still doing the news, still like keeping an eye on the information that's coming from it, but it doesn't mean you have to play it like 24/7. I think you need the button.
I need to. There's no such thing as a mute button, is there, for a woman? I don't think.
WoW Classic has definitely taken the focus off. I know some people are definitely. Well, I don't know how well that's lasting. I seem to see people dropping quite quickly from WoW Classic. Whether the shine didn't quite hit them as they were expecting, I don't know. I mean, the problem I've always said about some of these old games is you have the nostalgia there, and in your head, what it was like, on how it was, and when you first experienced it. But then going back and playing that sort of thing, you don't necessarily get that same feeling when you go back again. But I know there's a big chunk that's dropped out, especially I think I know Detox tried to arrange a kind of streamer StarCitizen group. I think a lot of those have kind of stopped a bit, but yeah, it depends how you play it as well. The ones that I've noticed that have dropped out, which is quite funny, seems to be the people that grind to hell with it. You know, it's like, I don't understand the mentality. I mean, I don't grind that much on a game normally, but the mentality of playing a game that you've already played before, that you've been looking forward to then go and spend 2 whole weeks grinding constantly all day and then getting burnt out on it. So I think there's been a little bit of element of that as well from people. So it's, yeah, I mean, if you're enjoying it, then that's great. But if not...
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I sometimes, playing old games I can't do it. I've tried it before in the past. Like I've picked up old games and then I've played them for like, maybe a couple of hours or whatever, and then I kind of go, nah, I've moved on. And it's like that was a moment in time and it was really, really great. And when I go back and play them again, it's like, yeah, I still get that little bit of that moment, that special moment of like, oh, I love this game and these are the reasons why I loved it. But by the time I get to halfway through it, I'm just like, oh, you know what? Do you know what? I realize like games have moved forward in many ways. In some aspects, maybe they haven't, but in many ways, it's like, it's not open world, or there's not, there's things that I'm so used to now in the gaming community that it's like when a game doesn't have those, and some of the old games don't, it's the rose tinted glasses kind of syndrome. There's only...
Well, yeah,
I think there's only one game I've played in the past that I liked, and that was modern Metal Gear Solid. I played that. I played that all the way through one time, and I was like, yeah, this is still freaking good.
I mean, I think this is as Dirk, I think maybe he's trying to hint at. This is kind of what Star Citizen is doing as well. It's terms of like when we played WoW, say the first time, or I actually played MMOs before that even come along. Some of this other technologies didn't exist, so. You went in it and everything was amazing because it's like, oh, this does this and this does that. But then there comes a point when more modern MMOs come out and they include all that stuff and new things. And so when you go back and like you just said, it hasn't got those new things in it. It's like, oh, where's the group finder, or where's this, where's that? And I think that's kind of what will happen with Star Citizen, isn't it? You kind of go back to an old space game and it's like, well, this is missing this. Well, at least that's what we hope when Star Citizen comes out. But yeah, it's you feel like it's missing things when you go back to play something. I know people lament a lot over Star Wars Galaxies, and I can imagine a similar thing there. You go back to it, and then because I remember when I played Elder Scrolls Online. I know this is way off topic, but like the whole way the combat was different, and we had only all your quick bars were reduced to like 5 skills, and it was more dodging and using your mouse to attack rather than spamming a load of keyboard buttons, because I think someone highlighted like in the old WoW where you had your raid window there, your group window there, all the quick bars at the bottom, and you're playing in a screen this big because everything else is buttons and graphs and stuff. And like, so when I went to Elder Scrolls, it was like so much more simplified, different way of playing it, and I felt it very difficult to go back to an old version of an MMO with loads of when you're just spamming buttons and looking at the keyboard rather than looking at the game. I think with what Elder Scrolls allowed you to do was watch the game more that you were playing rather than looking at your hotkey buttons. And I think like that's what I'm hoping that Star Citizen doesn't get too technical. Like people seem to be wanting it this more realistic, but I want to be looking at the game, not having to think of my 20,000 keybinds that seems to be when you try and do a patch and there's new controllers to update. You've got sheets and sheets of paper of where all the buttons are and everything else. So it's like you need, because you were talking about it before, so this is kind of going into one of the topics, which is the radial UI menu and stuff. it's an easier way of finding things rather than having to remember, I would say, Alt J is emotes, HK is this, you know what I mean? Where you're flipping through millions of buttons for it.
It's so funny, like in the last couple of weeks, like prior, I think it was like a week or 2 weeks, or whatever, before, we were just literally having the topic of conversation because I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and I was like, you know, the radial aspect of Red Dead, and they do it with like other games that similar type of thing, but it was very prominent in Red Dead. I was like, here's a really great system of managing quite a lot of information, very clean and simply, and for consoles, you know, because at the end of the day, a console has very limited buttons, so you have to find a way that is, you know, easy for people who are playing consoles to do it. And I just think it's great when you have a limited amount of buttons. It forces you to think creatively. Do you know what I mean? When you have limitations, it forces you to be clever and creative. And that's one of the things, like with StarCitizen, I think they have had not enough of that in their whole mindset of genuine limitations. Now, you could say, people say, oh, the servers and the CryEngine is a limitation, but the problem is they've never had a financial limitation. They constantly keep getting thrown money. We keep accepting the extensions of time. We keep accepting, so there's never a limitation. And they haven't got a limitation with key buttons because there isn't that. And then it's like people then keep adding game glass, expansion pack, you know, dual sticks, you know, thousands more buttons and more buttons and more and more, and so it leads to this kind of, oh, it's okay, we'll make another button. You know, there's another button.
The game glass is their version of making a controller to control all those buttons, though, isn't it? It's because it's to visualize your cockpit so that you don't have to remember what those key buttons. That's kind of why game glass has come along, because of the fact that there's so many odd buttons and everything everywhere, and it's not on the UI so easily to do. It's the same as like the inner thought and the free look when you're in your cockpit and you're looking down and, like, you know, you have to zoom into one of the MFDs and then try and get it to change channel. Whereas that's why people are looking towards something like Game Glass, because it's like, well, okay, well, I'll just press this button on my tablet and it'll take me to the Shields menu. It's a lot quicker and easier. It feels like you need something built into the game to do that for us, really, to make it a bit quicker and easier. I mean, they are working on the UI, so I know that's one of the things I think you've got listed somewhere. So there's some updates. So you know.
It was just, I had just a video, like it was just a video clip. I mean, people have seen it, but it was like I was looking at the last 4 weeks of like the videos, and I was going, well, in the 4 weeks, what did I like? And that really stuck out to me as something that I really liked as a piece of tech, because just, one, I spoke about it, and two, it was like, I hope this is them trying to simplify and make more easy for not just their game guys, but also for us as the guys that play it. Because, you know, whenever I hear them talk about it, they always talk about, you know, it's tools for the developers to be able to, you know, the designers to be able to put it in. And I'm like, great, but are you also thinking about us as the gamers when you're building these tools too? You know what I mean? It's like, because they only ever say the designers in the thing, and they never really say about us. And I'm like, well, I would be curious to talk to the designer and then hear what the designer says on the UI. Again, it's that whole lack of deep diving that they're doing on their ICS videos and everything else that we don't get anymore. It's like, I'd like to then see the next process. So then this now gets handed to the designer, and then the designer says to us, oh yeah, they're adding these new UIs and this is how they do it. Now, maybe they're saving that for CitizenCon, which I expect they probably are. And that's fine. It's like, whatever, as long as we see the information, great. But
I think
that was the best bit for me for 4 weeks, actually.
I think really we are still kind of falling in this category of, it depends on how far along you think they are in development and how far that would be in terms of other games. Because I do believe probably in other games, when you're not putting that build out to the public, the designers and stuff are more interested in just getting their assets and things onto the screen, and they worry about tidying up, or someone else worries about making it usable and everything else later on down the line, you know. But we're getting it earlier than, say, it's going through that pass. So it's kind of like, like you said, they're putting extra buttons on, not really thinking about it, because to them, it's just getting that feature in. Oh, we'll just stick it on a different MFD screen. We'll just make it so it's controlled by these sliders. That'll do for now. And we're getting it in that state before it's got through to UI saying, well, no, this isn't playable. There's no way people can control this playable while it's in the game. We're going to have to now invent a UI section to make this more playable. So it could be that. It could be that we're in that early stages, whereas normally when you would get it in, say, an alpha or even a beta, it's gone through all those UI changes over and over again, and it's ready for the public. We're kind of getting it where it's not ready for the public, I suppose.
Which is I kind of think that's always the alpha sentence, isn't it? That's whenever everyone always says it's alpha and everyone says it's open development. And I get all that stuff. I don't think anyone really kind of argues that. The point is we are, they are allowing us to play it, so therefore they're going to get this
that's why they need to get
us
on top of it. Yeah, that's why they need to get on top of it, because it's not like other development. It's not like other games. They're giving us this early build, so therefore, in that respect, it is like an early alpha / beta in terms of it. You want us to play it, so it's got to be playable. And so, like you said, people you're going to get feedbacks on balancing, even though they might not want to. You're going to get feedback on UI. You're going to get feedback on all that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, you're giving it to us as a product to use. And it was exactly the same as when we had just the hangar module. People were giving feedback, the hangar's too small, the hangar's too big, I can't do this in my hangar. And it's like, well, this is literally the first module they gave you, and this was like 5 years ago or whatever it was. But people still... It's just a natural thing, isn't it? You're going to use something and go, that doesn't work. You can't help it. If you're using something, it's very difficult to sit there and keep going, that's probably a bug. They probably know about this. You don't. You still talk about it. You still bring it up.
It's the same with the use button. It's the same with the use button. It was the same. And then we got the Moby-Glass and the roar from the audience of joy of the Moby-Glass. Now we're 2 years down, or a year and a half down with Moby-Glass, and all of the problems with the Moby-Glass have become clear. All the limitations of the Moby-Glass have become clear. All the complication, all the bugs, the issues. We were all raving about it when it first came out, and then now we've ended up, to loathe it, in some ways. In many ways I have anyway, especially when it's zoomed in, zoomed out. You can't go in here, you're clunky, you're getting shot at. You got to go into your Moby-Glass to select your inventory, to put your armor, to put your, to put another piece on, because you have to, you're in a thought system which is supposed to be this very good, clever, doesn't recognize, hey, look, do you know what? I'm carrying 3 medipacks, supposedly. I can't just press the medi button and it just instantly grabs one for me. I have to go in and tell it. It's that kind of clunkiness, that's not there. And you see all that. And the way I look at it is like the UI, and which is why I like it. And I hope they really adopt the philosophy of trying to simplify, lighten and simplify the UI. It's like a house. I always think of it like a house. And the problem is that StarCitizen's kind of it's like a 4-bedroom house full of stuff, and then they go and buy an 8-bedroom house, and they're like, yeah, it's golden, we're good, we've got all these extra rooms. They just spread their shit out around those rooms. Whereas if you forced them and said, hey, by the way, everyone talks about not being on console, but let's just say, a console is like the equivalent of like a 2-bedroom house, and they're making a game that's got 4 bedrooms worth of gear, and they really, and then you say to them, well,
you get the clever storage, and
now you have to think. Now you have to think how you're going to do it. Now you have to get rid of the excess stuff that's garbage. Now you have to be streamlining. Now you know what I mean? And it forces a better. In my head, I think it forces them to think better. And like I said, I just think they haven't had enough. I know some people say, you're crazy, man. They have loads of limitations. I genuinely don't think they have. I don't think they've got a financial limitation. I think they just keep getting money and money and money, and it never seems to stop. And if people just kept handing me money all day long, just to do, whatever I wanted to do, I would just keep repainting and repainting and repainting, and be like, hey, I don't need to finish this painting, just carry on. Let's just repaint. Oh, I didn't like this bit. I'm going to repaint it. Just keep, they're like a forever patron fund. You just like, no, scrub it out, try again, scrub it.
Yeah, I suppose it's a kind of what you're trying to say is it's how some companies, obviously, when you've got a deadline, you have to say, well, that's going to have to do. We're pleased with that. Send it out the door, and that we kind of get that with StarCitizen when between patches you get something come out, and it's like, yeah, we're happy with that. Send it out to the door. Send it to us. Send it to live, and we're playing with it. And then they'll look at it and go, yeah, I think we could make it slightly better, and then they retweak it, and that's it. It's like, because they're retweaking stuff. Now, sometimes it's definitely needed. Other times you do wonder if it was needed to be retweaked. So it's, yeah.
Oh, I have a good one. Because I got a couple videos. So I know everyone's bored of me talking about the fly model. Okay, I know everyone's heard it a million times, and they've talked about it a million times. But I have a few things. So firstly, I think we should probably tee up this whole episode, this whole podcast of 4 weeks, where Miz and I have spent, we spent the last like probably 45 minutes having a chat about how we're going to be positive. That's always the first scary thing. Okay, so we spent 45 minutes of how we're going to be positive, and I think the reality is that we've come to is that there are parts of the process at the moment of all the information that's come out that we like, small parts, okay, not as much as we'd like. There's a lot of parts where I definitely feel, especially, and I know Miz, I think, is kind of a bit less on the emotional, more straight up, like, very good, just saying, we have questions and concerns and just like, why is this and stuff. And so we maybe aren't as informed because we haven't been following it as much as we normally do over the last couple of weeks. So maybe the community, you guys in chat, will be able to answer. So if you're on YouTube or whatever, we'd love you guys to like, comment and stuff. And, if we're off base, please feel free to correct us. But we're going to be asking a few questions and just making a few points on some of this, 6-month development stuff. We're going to be asking a few things on stuff and just saying, a few things. So we're going to go through that. But the first thing is
if you do have any questions for us, ! Question mark in chat, and
fuck it in there.
Fill in the form, check us any questions. We'll do what we can to answer them. And you carry on.
No, it's cool, man. Like, so I'm just trying to think because I want to try and pick up the thread. Like, I'll pick up a good thread for us to kind of go. It's been a bit since I've done this, so let's just kind of like, where was I? So, okay, so all right, let's do the commercial because the commercial. Let's do number 13 on the forum finds, Miz, and we've got 13, 14, and 15, and this kind of like these videos. This is the 890 jump commercial, and then we have the freelancer commercial, and then we have like the Hornet commercial, and then it kind of leads me into a little bit of what I call the martyr syndrome of Spectrum, which drives me nuts, which is kind of something I wanted to talk about. Area, but we'll talk about the 890 jump because this is a positive thing. It's just check if it works.
So okay. I got the 890 jump one up. Let me just line them up. So the 890. Then where was the Hornet video? Where's the other? Oh, sorry, it's all three of them in a row, is it? Yeah, okay, 2 seconds.
Yeah, they're the video. People have seen them like 1,000 times or whatever. But people, I just want there's a few bits. There's a few bits in the exactly. Well, that's what I wanted to kind of talk about. Like, it's like understanding, like, because the 890 jump's new to new backers, so there's gonna be a load of new backers who see the 890 jump video and go, this is what their first introduction to StarCitizen is. And this amazing video. Which Gatsby, and it was great.
I'll play it when you can talk through. I would do it. I'll turn the audio off because we don't need the audio.
Yeah. So it's a glorious video. I love the way that they've kind of done it. It really speaks to what potentially we envision the dream of StarCitizen. I mean, the reality of it is completely opposite. There's 25 people in the server. You would never get this many people. Probably on an 890, you can't do any of these things. But, this is what they themselves are either trying to sell us. So it could be a lie. So they're either trying to sell us a lie, or this is what they believe themselves at CIG, which I like to believe, that this is what they are going to try and create for us. Now, I struggle sometimes with bits of it, but it's a beautiful video, and I'm sure there are many new backers because of this video, which is what it's supposed to do, I guess.
Personally, I really like the video. It does remind me a little bit. I mean, this is done with in-game assets, I believe.
Yeah.
Whereas it kind of reminds me of when you watch. Was it like Gamescom, E3, stuff like that, where they show off games and it's always trailers. So you always see these, and games companies and marketing especially do extremely well of doing amazing game trailers to show stuff off and really sell the project. And I think that's what all of these adverts do. 100%. If there's, like we say quite often, there's one thing that StarCitizen do very well, which is the aesthetics and the looks of StarCitizen and the fidelity and everything else looks really nice. And this is another thing that they nail really well, is the adverts most of the time. Is the
dream, yeah.
They sell the game, they sell the dream, and you look at it and it's stunning, it's amazing. And I think, I mean, I don't think they're lying. I think that's what they want it to be. that's what we all want it to be, right? That's what they and because Chris has always said he kind of, he's done a film, he's done cinema, and he always wants to. He wants the game to feel like that cinematic effect. That's what he said when it's like comes to the combat and stuff like that. Let's cancel that.
Cancel. So so that was the 890 jump, and that's using all the latest, obviously, information that they've had. Like this next one I think is 2013. I think the trailer.
Well, it says 2014. I don't know when it was published.
That's 14. Okay, so so you're talking of 5 years potentially. There's a 5 years. The Hornet one I think is 2013 as well. So you're talking 5-6 years difference between these videos. Okay, and the Hornet and the Freelancer were the two trailers that that got me into the game.
Freelancer was definitely my one. Well, I think I was in it before that, but the Freelancer was like, that's what made me want this ship. Purely just because of they sold the job role, and everything else, I think, from it. So
and the thing that the kind of starts to bug me, and this is why I think a lot of all backers kind of are getting a little frustrated. It's the bits that haven't materialized yet. You know what I mean? And then some of the changes, which you'll see more in the Hornet when I talk about movement and kind of like the vision that they've tried to show us. Like they talk about the weapons and the guns, and they show off and what I find frustrating, and this is kind of one of the things I say, is like they show in this like a quantum jump that happens like this in seconds. Like instantaneous. I know it's a trailer, but again, that's the point, is they show this instantaneous quantum jump, and then they show this instantaneous destruction of the bad guys. Do you know what I mean? Which we now know the time to kill is the opposite of this almost. You know what I mean? The way that they're kind of making it is like it takes ages to kill anything. And also what I hear about on the community and Spectrum is everyone grumbling about when they get killed quickly, but yet the trailers and the things that we saw and the adverts we saw are all instant. Bomb, missile, blow up quick, one big gun cannon, dead, drama, and then landing, sweet animations to land and stuff, blah blah blah. But
that hover mode that he's got there.
yeah, exactly. It's not Crash, it's not Australian time, but that's what they sold to me initially. And when you see the dogfighting one with the Hornet, that's kind of, it becomes more prevalent. The flight, the way that the ships move, you'll see as well, what they were originally doing. Now, again, I know everything's subject to change, but it's like,
I mean,
when you see the Hornet.
So like Night Kai's, I believe, is right to a degree. These are meant to be adverts to show the ships off. So the same way as, like he says, when you watch a car advert on TV and they're driving down snowy mountain, like you see a 4x4 trailer and they're driving down snowy mountain, skidding around the corners with the family sitting in the back.
The asteroids blowing up, by the way, is something that I really want to get in game. I can do that in, No Man's Sky and stuff. And then I thought it was so funny. It's an aurora. He gets a little aurora, but I was like, this is something they show with the asteroids exploding and stuff. How great would that be? I would love to see that in game. It's been, that was something in the trailer. The way that the guns fired as well, I thought was cooler with the colors and stuff. The fatter lasers, I thought that was sick. There's the information with the HUD coming up to show you that there's an asteroid thing fucking in front of you. You know what I mean? Like, that's never made it in. And you see in a second when after this bit, the first bit, he gets then taken on by like what's called the interceptors now. So they're no longer the what they call interdicting ships. They're now an interceptor. But what I really find interesting is the maneuver he pulls off in a second, which kind of like again summed up a type of flight that has been pulled away recently, but then it's actually kind of coming back. But we'll talk about that in a second. When he does the maneuver in a sec, which is pretty cool. But again, this was like, there it is, there. He pulls the space brake and pulls back over the top of it, and then lines up all the gunpowder and kills him from behind and does a pull. Now that is an atmospheric maneuver. That is, something you see in movies. That's, that's something that aircraft pilots do and stuff. And in space, in theory, that's realistic what you can do. But with the new flight model, you can't do it. You cannot space brake that fucker and pull it back over the top. You've got to do like a 360 kind of turn. And for me, again, that was just like one of my kind of like, I watched it and I was going, oh, that's what, you just go, Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
that's what I grew up to love, the maneuvering, and everyone talks about it, and I'm like,
obviously the
that was
instant
what I was shown.
explosions are what nobody wants. I mean, the thing is, it's like when you see it,
Well,
it's like when you're shooting bad guys that aren't other players, for example. That is kind of what you want because it feels cool if you can just send a missile and the thing blows up and you fly through in a couple of shots and boom, everything's exploding around you. Like the cinematic feel of that is really cool. Obviously, against other players, that's just not going to work because no one's going to want to be blowing up that quick, and it becomes more of an arcade game. However, like you said, about the flight model, the way they're flying and the maneuverability, that's different. That's more. Are they lost in terms of like what they want as the combat model?
I think they're lost, and I not only think they're lost, I think they're doing a little bit of a loop-de-loop-de-loop is the best way to describe it. They are literally going around in, actually not a loop, they're doing they're on a bit of a merry-go-round, and I think the reality is they're going to come back to more where they were. And here's my examples, okay? So I've got a few bits in the notebooks here, but the martyr syndrome drives me nuts, which I'll talk about in a second. But the bit when you talk about like the time to kill. Now here's a video. Excuse my French in the language in the the things. Number 27. Okay, so I've got two here. I've got two videos, and these are from the Legacy Star Group Fighting Legacy series groups, and these are their kind of like instruction videos. Now the 26 video is more at the end. I was going to show, but I would say just really ignore 26 and just go to 27. Okay. And if you watch this is them shooting at a Vanguard. Okay, this is a Vanguard in AC back in the day, and these are good pilots. But you watch how they're able to maneuver. Their maneuvering isn't too dissimilar now to the way that by the way, I was going to say, the Gladius now in game is being tweaked more and more with its thrusters to go back to more and more what it was, and less the way that they were kind of like, the Gladius is much more maneuverable than it has been, and they keep subtly tweaking it a little bit more. But if you watch, obviously I'm blowing up, but if you watch a bit when he gets to the
that's
Vanguard,
me flying. That's not good combat. That's me flying.
I hope it. He was probably on the screen like going, am I recording? But there's a bit where I think they engage with a Vanguard in this, and
that's the Vanguard he's highlighting now.
Yeah, so here you go. So like they engage in a Vanguard. Now everyone grumbles and says, "Oh, you could take ages to kill things." There are too many people who are backers from the 3-point era. There are not enough backers talking about what it was before the 3-point era. There was plenty of time on kills.
Yeah, I remember doing
took a long time to kill
fights with, well, not necessarily you because you blew me up a lot more, but I mean with other people, and the fights, if you got two good pilots as well, then the time to kill was pretty long. I don't think it was quick.
It wasn't, and also here's the other thing. There's if you look at let me see if I can dig out the tell you the point. I didn't put the time code in there. This is my bad. I'll see if I can dig out the time code. I think there's an example of him. Yeah, there's an example of them shooting at, I think it's 2 minutes and 35. It's 10 seconds basically from the end, him shooting at a Hornet. And this is using fixed guns. And again, it just shows how steady the ESP was, how steady the targeting was. Now, anyone says to me, oh, it's an Arena Commander, all the rest of it. Well, just watch Detox play an Arena Commander, which is supposed to be separate from, the servers and all the rest of it. And it's jittery as shit. It's still not great. And the way that the ships fly, it's like, I don't know what all the fuss was, why they had to change it so much. I still struggle to understand why they had to change it so much from this type of flight model. Do you know what I mean? I still struggle. And I think that what's happening is they changed it heavily in 3.5 and they've realized it's not giving them what they want, this fun positional movement. And they're having to go back. And that's what I'm expecting. So when I watch the latest videos where they talk about the flight model, they're going to go back more to this with the maneuvering thrusters to be a bit more powerful again, because it's more fun, is the reality. And look at the length of time it's taken them to kill this ship. And it's a myth that people seem to think that you blew up ships in seconds all the time. No.
It's also,
no,
I think there's a couple of things on there. There's also
education.
I mean, on that terms, there's all I can think is why they wanted to change, say, from that is that it wasn't doing the vision of that Chris wanted. In terms, like, I don't know what his vision, like he wanted it, like they said they didn't want jousting, but but I get a feeling that that's kind of what they want. The more sort of fly past, try to maneuver and spin as you're doing it. Whereas this is, there's times when it looks like the maneuvering that you're just constantly looking at each other like that, and it's not. There's no. It looks like there's no flying. Almost, you're just floating, both floating. But that's not necessarily true. It's because you're both maneuvering in a certain fact way, so you're moving the same way.
I think space combat. We're not in airplane combat, and with gravity pulling both pilots to the ground, and because there's, you're in. It's a different space. And I had no problem if they were going to have a bit more of that in atmosphere. That's kind of cool. But I am in a space game. I'm in a volume. I'm in 6 degrees of movement, and also you'll see like they had separation. Like these are obviously good pilots, so these guys are doing what's known as keeping your nose on target at all times. So it always feels a bit more like they're kind of gliding and drifting around a lot, but that's because they're just keeping their nose. They're really good, and they keep their nose so they can get their aim on. But it's just what you have now isn't. It's not, like I said, when people talk, I'm more pointing out that the time to death, what I mean? Like that's from their thing is I'm trying to educate people because there's too many people who just come from a 3-point period patch who don't know, you know what I mean? And I'm like, no. Educate yourself. There was plenty of time to kill prior to this. You know what I mean? All this nonsense.
But when they changed it, was it because they were saying time to kill wasn't good, or was it that they were saying that they didn't believe in the way it was flying and handling?
I think it's just a balancing thing. I honestly think it's a bit of a balancing. The Vanguard became very beefy, then it became very weak. It became very beefy. Lots of new guns came into the game, which changed things up again. Like I said, the item 2.0 was the biggest change that rewrote so much and kind of broke so much. So
I mean, the interesting thing for this for me is we are probably almost opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of like you are a combat pilot and very good at flying, whereas I'm the opposite end and very good at crashing. But I'm not like the shittiest pilot that there is, but I wouldn't say I'm just adequate. Yeah. And I didn't feel that the flight mechanic was wrong back then. There was little things like, so one thing I did feel that was wrong is the maneuvering and the fact that in terms of there was no drag. So this is where it's slightly different because maybe with your experience you noticed more than I did. Although I did notice in ships, but so one of the big things like people argue now especially is back then there was no different feel between the ships. Everyone said all the ships felt the same. Now, that's what I'm going to say, right? And this is where even I knew that they were different, but a lot of people for some reason seem to think that they felt the same. Now, 100%, and especially as good combat pilots flying different ships knew that they felt completely different. There's no way that they all felt the same. And I've gone from flying an Aurora to a Buccaneer, which is probably as opposite as you can get considering the maneuverability of the Buccaneer. And it's like, they weren't the same. My Aurora, nowhere did it maneuver anything like the other ships. The only thing I believe that wasn't great was the fact that you could change direction so rapidly. And that's what they were said. It had like a sort of almost like butterfly effect or whatever it is. So you could quickly go up, then you could strafe down, up, left, right, and it would all maneuver extremely quick as if you're using your biggest thrusters. I think that the drag that they got in now, I think we could have, personally, I mean, my opinion would have been that to add some drag so you can't just instantly change from one direction to the other. But I feel like they've gone way too far the other way that even my little small Reliant now, I drift so much that I barely can get it around the freaking racetrack because it drifts that much. Yeah,
that's it. It's just ridiculous. The drift is just you can't. I mean,
I think it should have had some drift. I think what I personally would like is to go back to this flight model, but just add some drift to it. Like nowhere near what we got, but just some drift. So the ones that have got.
That's where they're going. I think that's where we're going. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like in terms of their tweaking the thrusters, I honestly think they're going to end up more back to where they were. And my point isn't necessarily that's not a bad thing. I hope they do that because I think it was better before. I definitely think they need to. I honestly strongly believe they need to have the. I've said this before. They've got to have nitros, boosters, whatever on the smaller ships. You got if you want to have true positional ships, you have to have an additional way for those smaller ships, those interceptors or whatever you want to call it, to be able to break speed on things, to be able to do that trailer that we just saw, to be able to cut out of space and burn down on something hard, because the way that the ships are at the moment, I just go up to cruise. The other guy goes up to cruise. And then it's literally the slowest. It's like Star Wars, the slowest, crappiest race in history between two ships. And, like there's slowly catching up. And then we drift, then we turn, and then he's picked his target, and then he jumps away. There's no pounce on the target you can do, because it's just difficult because of the way that it is. There's no, like, if I had the ability to hit an afterburner and engage an extra set of power, I could burn up so hard and fast on that guy before he's even got his cruise up. So for me, I'm cool with the big ships having, the way it is now. I'm like, cool, they can have their drift and they're slow. It makes sense. Everyone talks about how the big ships feel nice for them. Well, if that's what they like and they're happy with it, great. But I can tell you now, the smaller ships aren't right. And that's what I would do to fix it.
Yeah.
And to make it better and to bring it back. Add more thrusters, which I think they're doing. The Gladius clearly has more maneuvering than any other ship I think I've seen. And that's because of Squadron 42. And they keep tweaking it because they keep noticing it gets a little bit more agile.
Because I know when I first had my Buccaneer, it would just literally move any direction you want instantly. And it was just like up, down, left, right, back, forward. It was just like, maneuvering, it was crazy.
You blacked out then. You don't black out. This is my biggest grumble as well with the flight model as well, is that the new flight model isn't realistic either. Because if I'm doing 700, whatever it is, whatever the speed is, in that direction, I spin that ship around and engage those thrusters to go back the other way. Inertia would dictate that I'm still going 700 in that way. So I'm suddenly now braking and pushing it back to go back the other way. I would be pinned to the seat. The blood would be rolling to the back of my eyes and I would have blacked out. But there's never a blackout. Like, the blackouts don't seem to exist with this new flight model, because the reality is in my opinion, the flight model is fundamentally incorrect because of this. And it's just not right either. Anyway, whatever. I've talked about it a lot, but I just wanted to show, I wanted to show some people who maybe didn't know. There you go. Go read up on it. Go watch some videos from the Legacy guys from Screwed and see some of the videos, see some of the combat. Watch them hit with gimbals. Watch them hit with fixed. The way they're able to get on top of, the targets and hit them. The pit, it doesn't move. Like, it's not bouncing around all over the place. It's smooth and clean, and hopefully we'll get back to this, but that's what we loved. That's how it was so much fun, and why people were constantly in Arena Commander, because it was freaking awesome, and there was two, you had gimbals and you had fixed. That was it, and it was dope, and it was all you, it was all down to you. Ability as a pilot, it was pretty sweet. Not aim assist. So, and please, sorry, just please. Stop thinking that the ships weren't different. Please, if I hear people say that again, I'm going to go ballistic. There was so much variety between ships that people don't realize because they just didn't take the time.
Well, I haven't flown a lot recently, but I feel like there's less difference in ships now than there were. Because, like I said, I got in my Aurora and it drifts like fuck. I get in the Reliant and it drifts like fuck. I get in the Buccaneer and it drifts like fuck. Less so. They've definitely noticed there's a difference between the Reliant and the Buccaneer, but
so easy.
Yeah,
it's so easy though, Miz. The explanation is so easy. If you have it's like I don't understand how people didn't. I mean, I was talking about this like before they first brought it in. Like, if I take my phone and I put like 2 big ass thrusters on the back of it, and I put 10 thrusters, little ones, all around it, okay? And those 10 thrusters are all super powerful, and this thruster's powerful. I can go all over the place. Do you know what I mean? But then, if you then take those only as the main thrusters that I can go anywhere very quickly, and you make these thrusters, all these little thrusters, so they can't go anywhere, I'm realistically only going to go in one direction at any
and
time.
That's what we got. Yeah.
But but here's the thing: if you have all the different ships, so all the different ships in the game currently, this is like with the old flight model, with all the different thrusters they have. So they had a different number of thrusters. So they had a different number of small ones. So, for example, the Hornet had more vertical ones, the Sabre had more horizontal ones, created more sideways, more vertical. Same with other ships. You had more of those smaller thrusters, gave you lots more movement in different directions. But when the new flight model comes in, they made all of those, nerf them to like one level pretty much. So all that happens is, again, you're just making all of those ships
the same, because it's just their main engines.
Yeah, And so no matter how many 10, 20, 30 of those little thrusters, it's not going to do anything. And
I feel like all they need to do is
the
weaken those thrusters slightly so they weren't as responsive, and that probably would have done it. You know, it's like
all they had to do. Honestly, I swear to God, that's all they really had to do. I honestly, I firmly believe it was a case of new person on board, new person ideas, change stuff for whatever reason, and I think that's what happened. And I just feel like now the reality is it's become very clear. They realize they have to change it up, and that's what I expect is going to happen. I thoroughly expect those little thrusters. Some poor person now is going to have to go in, and some balancing person is going to have to go in now and spend an absolute age
probably tweak every
dialing back up every ship's thrusters again, little ones, to try and bring them back. And that's a I don't know. It just feels like it's just a massive waste of fucking time. It's my honest truth. It's like hover mode all over again, you know. And that's another one we can talk about. Really, is the you know, this how many assists is this going to game get? Do you think before it's released? We're gonna have aim assist, proximity landing assist. We're gonna have FPS assist. I know everyone's gonna love that.
We're waiting for it.
Oh, it was a great tweet. I've got the I was looking at it from where is it? From Major Surge. He says he put this on Spectrum. He says, "Where does CIG envision themselves going with FPS?" And he makes a really good point here, and I'll put the link in chat in a second. Me and many others would love to know high or low time to kill. So we were talking about time to kill. When I joined StarCitizen, I hear they wanted a skillful gameplay, and I heard a lot of talk about aim assist, just speculations. What does that even entail, and why can't I find anything about them talking about where they want to go with it? I think we all want more transparency of the direction. I think a lot of people are going to be really disappointed when they don't like one or of the other. Please just be more open with the community. So, and then somebody made a comment down here that goes, "The only aim assist I need is my mouse. Aided accuracy would be a complete failure of an FPS experience, and I wouldn't touch it. All games, no matter what they are, require skill curves, which gives meaningful time spent, meaningful practice, play experience. Skill curves create a long life." I don't disagree with what he's saying in terms of that aspect, but what I will say is, you know, why should FPS, I've said this to you before as well, why should FPS be allowed, or, you know, first-person shooting games not have a aim assist? When the combat guys have, you know, when the dogfighting has one, why do they not get one? You know, why can't I have an aim assist for my gun, my handgun? You know, it's like, why can't mining have an aim assist? Why doesn't, you know, it's for me, I've always said this, they've broken down it's like a can of worms again. It's like they're picking and choosing where to help people, and I kind of think that's, you know,
I think
it's either a skill game
the reality is, I feel a bit like aim assist is a solution to something that may not necessarily have been there if the servers were working and other systems were working. It's like, oh, it's too hard to aim, and it's too hard for us to work out how to get the turrets to work. I'll tell you what, we'll add the aim assist so that it'll help the turrets shoot better, or help people shoot better. And it's like, because, like you said, the pips are jerking all over the place. To me, it's almost like, oh, they'll stick this in because they can't solve something else. But I think the problem, like you said, back in those patches back then when it seemed to be a lot smoother, you didn't need the aim assist. People were hitting with the target. I don't hear, apart from like disconnects and things jumping, I don't remember people moaning too much about not being able to hit, for example. It's just, hopefully, I don't know, all you can hope. I just don't think we've said this before, and I think that we can, we just go in circles talking about it, really. It's like we both don't believe aim assist should be in the game. It's not in other games that we play. And anything that you call a skill-based game, you don't generally put something like aim assist in. Now, I understand it for a turret point of view to help make turrets hit, because obviously the pilot's all over the place, and so I could maybe justify it in that, because you're not the one in control of the ship. But as the pilot, no.
And it's still, and the craziest thing is, it's still not even in freaking the place where it should be. But it's more a case. It's more a case of, for me, it's like, again, it's that whole kind of coming back to we've talked about it, the length of time this game's taking. You know, potentially this game could get onto console. You know, consoles are, you know, known for having, you know, aim assist on, you know, FPS kind of shooting games and stuff. So again, when he Major talks about like clarity and understanding what's going to go on and stuff, like I'm curious. Like, we'll see it. No, that would be a question maybe for CitizenCon. It's like, Chris, do you think because you're taking so long, StarCitizen could end up on console?
I mean,
if
he's playing with a control pad, which he seems to all the time, then you may well get aim assist on FPS. You don't know.
Yeah,
exactly.
So then, and I'm always in the kind of like, you either do it for everything or you do it for nothing. You know what I mean? I'm all in or all out. I think once you start picking and choosing where you assist and where you don't assist, I think that's just a slippery, dangerous slope. At least you can be very clear with the community and say, we are going to have an easy mode for every single aspect of this game, so everybody will be able to enjoy, a percentage of, whatever. It's like, that makes sense to me. I can believe that. I can back that, because it's like, okay, cool. There's going to be an assisted mode for me when I do mining. It's going to be assisted mode for when I land. It's going to be assisted mode for when I do this. That's there. And then if they make it so that you can switch that shit off, cool. And it doesn't give you and the skill tree that he talks about is still there. You know what I mean? So they still get the benefits if you go, if you FPS, if you don't have the aim assist, you will be better. The problem is we all know that it won't, because there's a great video on, I think in my video, where a guy is grumbling about time to kill in his Buccaneer, and this is and the guy has taken the Gladius. He's put, the Gladius comes with size 3 hard points, okay? I voted so hard for the Gladius to get size 3 hard points so it could fight with the big boys back in the day. And now they bring an aim assist. Now everyone fucking puts gimbals on the fucker and brings the guns down to attritions and then dials up the overclock or whatever, or they bring in mass drivers again or whatever. Because the reality is as we know, DPS is great when you hit something. If you aren't able to hit something as many times as with aim assist, it doesn't mean shit.
Well, so that's it. You're better off having a less powerful gun but hitting constantly than a more powerful gun that misses most of the time. And I mean, that's always been why my choice on guns, and mostly on ships and things, has been lasers. Because if I know I'm not a great combat pilot and I'm going to miss a lot, having bullets that are going to run out means that that's not good for me. I'd rather have lasers that I can still keep in the fight 10 hours later when I'm not very good and I'm still there fighting. Whereas having bullets, I'm just going to go and reload every time because I keep missing. So, aim assist is going to win out on that. It just is.
Yeah, and exactly, and that's always fundamentally my problem with it. As soon as you implement that, I think they've is a mistake. But hey ho, we've talked about that a million times and we can move on. But it was more just I wanted to show some more videos.
Well, they've said stuff. It's relevant because I suppose in the last StarCitizen Live, they've said that we know they've changed the hover mode because obviously people didn't see that, and that's something that I can see that happens though. So in their head they're like, well, let's make it fly like a helicopter, let's make it hover, sounds cool.
Okay.
And then when they're trying it on their offline server, see, this is the other issue, like we said, because you're trying to get us to test things without all the technology. And so maybe if we had an extra camera or if we had a HUD that told us to how we were, then maybe we could land easier. So we're testing something without all the features. So then they're saying, oh, this didn't work how we want. Then they go back now on their offline servers, on their QA servers, maybe hover mode worked much better. Maybe the QA was landing on planets thinking this is great, but didn't test it so much on the little tiny hangars. Who knows? Yeah. But obviously to them, they felt like this made it feel cool. Because I remember the video with Coulson going, oh yeah, this is a really cool feature. Look, it acts like a helicopter. And then you've got him back on another video saying, well, that didn't work. It doesn't feel very good and it doesn't feel like we wanted. So it's like a full 360 on what he was saying. But yeah, it's like... To me, I think it's all...
Maybe they rush it, Miz. Do you think maybe they rush it? That's the problem. Maybe they're guilty. Maybe with the roadmap.
But that's what I'm saying, though. If they're testing it, if they're testing it on their own servers and it's working better, like, is it not working good for us because the servers aren't great? Is it not working because, did they not test it enough? Or pushing it out to us to give it to us to test is what their idea was in the first place? Is it easier to give it to us to test and then reel it back? Do you need to give it
to everyone, though? Yeah, but then, do you need to give it to it feels weird, like you're giving it to everyone. Surely that's what your Q&A's for, and your Evocati people are supposed to be for.
Yes and no, but then...
trash, you kind of go back.
Maybe. But it again, they set themselves these release goals, and if they keep holding it back, especially with something like that, the flight model, they either put it in or they can't put the patch out.
who was screaming for the hover landing to change? I don't remember anyone screaming for the landing to change. I don't ever remember.
Well, no.
I mean, maybe there was a couple.
Well,
There
Chris,
was a couple
I
hardcore
think,
sim fans out there,
didn't he? Because he said he liked it in films when you see the ship go up. Literally, the only reason he said it was changed, or at least I remember from the videos, was Chris kind of said he liked it. Yeah, I did ask for it to change. Is because he saw the ships go up and then take off, rather than just take off at a weird angle. They would go up first, then fly off, and he's like, "Oh, that's always cool in." Just Shushburger. It was always cool seeing these ships going up and down, and I think so. It could well be just that he wanted it. You've seen a film, he saw it in the latest episode of The Expanse, and thought, "That's what I want my ships to do." And then he comes in the next day to work, rings up Carlson, and says, "I want my ships doing this." No, it could be as simple as that. He could just literally see something.
They screwed it. Yeah, I know. I think he's guilty. Like, they didn't need. They had it in their hands with the overheating and the fuel mechanic. They had it in their hands. The solution was there right from the very beginning. If it was designed to stop ships from hovering over the top of like Hurston forever and ever and shooting down at people, all they had to do was limit the.
But that
fuel,
wasn't even what they were saying. I mean,
system.
it probably is like from what they actually said was in the video. He just said, "Oh, it looks cool when ships go up and then take off from landing
so
zones."
that was the original was coolness, and then they had to find a reason. So then they realized the community was like, "We don't like it when ships hover above us," And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll find this." But they originally did say about overheating and cooling and fuel, and they had it there. It was there again. I feel like they just threw the baby out with everything just to try and do something.
Like we said,
for some reason,
but on top of that, though, like they said, is we are supposed, like in one of the old videos we've got, there's a HUD that shows you the orientation of your ship, whether it's level, whether it's up, down, and they said that they want to put it so that if you're coming to a landing zone, you'll see the landing box in that little hologram, so you know you're in the right place. Now, the alternate hover mode or the new hover mode may well work if you have those things in place, but we don't have those things in place. So now they've implemented a hover mode without those things in place, which means it doesn't work. We then tell them it doesn't work, so they take it out. So what, later on they're going to put these other HUD things back in so we can see how we're landing? And then do we go back to try in the helicopter mode again? Or do they say, no, that didn't work, so we're not going to use it? It's like you're giving us something to test without all the things around it. So it's like giving you a gun and saying, can you tell me how good this is, but not giving you any bullets. And they say, well, this gun doesn't seem to kill people. It's like, yeah, because you've got no bullets. Yeah, but we're going to add bullets later on down the line, but just tell us how this gun is. And you go, well, I can't. It doesn't do anything. I can hit people over the head with it, and then next week they'll go, yeah, this gun didn't work. We're going to remove it from the game. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that's what you got is again, it's that case of, I don't know what it is. I think it's like kind of withdrawal symptoms within the StarCitizen community. They get something, they loathe it, and then they become like kind of institutionalized to it. And so then when it's pulled away from them, they're like, no, there was something there. Don't take it away.
It was a pretty gun.
Like, even when they were bitching about it, like probably 3 weeks ago, whatever, because when they first got it, and then they've kind of got a little bit used to used to kind of what it was. I don't know. It's just a funny lot. We're a funny breed, StarCitizen community when it comes to things going and coming and all the rest of it. It's weird. Yeah, it's definitely Stockholm syndrome at times. There seems to be that. And, there is, like you said at the very beginning of the show, there is definitely a clear divide between the sim and the arcade group that play this game. And it scares me. It's like Brexit within the game, it's like there's a clear divide between the PvPers and the non-PvPers, the PvEers, or the ones who want to play without. And I kind of think when I saw people talking like in about combat and stuff, I saw another thread and stuff, and they're all like, go into Arena Commander. It's like, go away, get out of our PU, don't do the combat, stay away, go do that, and we'll just have our PU, and you've got Arena Commander, which we don't because it's never been touched for months. You've got Arena Commander to enjoy, and we've got the persistent universe to enjoy, so just leave us alone, type of thing. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, right, yeah, sure, that's not cool. I want to be part of the PU too. I want to hunt your ass, and vice versa.
I think that's actually what you're saying there is actually quite a good point. Not so much between the PvEs and the PvPers, because I think there's a lot of PvEs that if it doesn't affect them, they're not worried so much. Like if I'm more into PvE, I'm not too worried about how they're adjusting your combat. Like, you might bitch about it, but to me personally, it's like, well, do you know what? I'm not too worried. Yeah, I probably should be, but I'm generally not, because
in the end,
well, only if you're forced to be able to do PvE. If you couldn't have safe zones and everything else, and it's fine. Well, that's what's happening though, isn't it? Is that is affecting our PvE, because it's affecting our PvE gameplay. But I think the divide is more what you said first of all, which is between the sim people and the non-sim like people. And I think this is where we're getting the problem, because I think when, like you said, when the hover mode got put in, it's not so much that people changed their mind and are scared of it being taken away. I think it's the people that want this realism. They're the ones that wanted it. They're like, oh, this is great, this is realism. And so what you're doing, you're giving these people a taste of something and then taking it away. Now, the people that never wanted it in the first place are still not wanting it. But the people that didn't know they wanted it, all of a sudden have a taste of it. And they're like, oh, no, this is like real. This is cool. This is realism. I want this in the game. And then you've got that big side of the fence bitching about it. And I've noticed a lot on Facebook and lots of things. There is, like you said, it's like Brexit. There is a clear divide on people and how they want this game to be. And I think this is something that, like Brexit, there's nothing you can do about it. You've got two camps, and it's probably almost impossible to get that meet in the middle where both camps are happy, because I think the realism people want it so realistic that they want to make it as if they're actually going into a ship and taking off and going into space by themselves, if they got their VR hats on and they think they're actually doing it. And then you've got the other camp where people just want a fun game that's pretty realistic looking, but they don't mind the gaming mechanics that you get in other games, which makes sense because it makes it easier to play and makes it more fun to play. I mean, we won't go deeply into it because we've bitched about it enough, but like the quantum travel is probably one of the prime examples of that.
Big example.
Because it's like the sim people, let's make it take as long as possible. We love traveling. We love it to take forever. And then the gamey people are like, I don't want it this long. I like having a little bit of travel in it to show that you're getting somewhere, but fuck me, what's the point of sitting here looking at a screen for 18 hours? So that is, like, to me, a clear divide. But you can't
never pin it down because they can't, because they divide the community, which
but
means
you
they
also
divide
can't
their funds.
suit people. You can't. Yeah, they won't pin it down. They won't openly admit to one or the other because they want funds from everybody, and they want to incorporate everybody. But I don't think you actually can. I think there has to be a point where you draw a line in the sand and go, well, this is where we're going with it. And
they talk about, they take it to realism and then they bring it back to fun. Well, like for me, I don't think they brought it back to fun for a very long time.
That's the problem as well, isn't it? Because every time they take it to realism, the realism people are going, oh, this is what we want. And then you take it back to fun, and then the realism people are butthurt because you've taken it back to fun.
Yeah, exactly, and then the fun people are having a blast again, and this is a wonderful conversation. I think it can go on and on, but I think we both kind of in agreement of, yeah, boys, it's definitely a split, and it's going to grow. It's going to grow more as the game develops and as CIG starts to put more things in. There's going to be more of these really difficult decisions for CIG to actually no longer sit on the fence, because they have got so many splinters on their ass from sitting on that damn fence because they want to make money, that eventually they're going to have to get off that fence and really start to pick some sides. I think there was a brief, I think on the live with Brian and Todd, they started talking a little bit more about that kind of thing. Feature complete. They want things, but they still always have a stick from that fence firmly stuck there because they know they can't do it yet because there's just too much money and they will risk alienating too many people. But at the same time, though, if it goes too realistic, they're already doing it. They're already losing some people. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Right, where were we? So that was cool. Martyr syndrome, yes, please. That was my main thing. One of my big, honestly, Spectrum drives me nuts. StarCitizen, CIG never needs to say shit because there are so many people willing to dive in front of them to take a bullet for the brand, the company. It's unreal. I've never seen so many people on Spectrum just dive across when there's a good question asked. No! And they fly across the screen to try and quick, type, save Chris, save the rest, and you're just like, no, what are you doing? This is a really good question, or this is a really good point, or God, it drives me nuts, I'm trying to think if I've got one.
I know it's getting to I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with some of these people that are guarding it, but it gets to the point that you can't just have a good discussion, which is what you really want. It's not saying one side's right or wrong. It's like, well, can't we just discuss discuss it rather than saying that it's all because of this or it's all because of that. It's
It's to do with I think it was to do with Drake hardpoints. There was let me see if I can dig it up here on Spectrum.
You said something about the
okay. So
they wanted information about the hard points.
Yeah, that was it. There's one thing. So Jake Crew from CIG basically pointed out. He says one thing to bear in mind is that the hardpoints. This is to do with hardpoint data is not the same. So this is a whole other conversation I want to talk about in terms of the community doing CIG's job still for them and creating gameplay. we do all this. We do all the work for them, create web pages and all the rest of it. And so the guys come out and say one thing to bear in mind that the hardpoint data that we're getting from these unofficial web pages is not the same data as what we actually use in game. So I'm not sure how they calculate that we're using the data mined XMLs or whether it's just not been updated for a while. So he's criticizing the outside of the game
third party person, for
third party stuff, which is
getting
more
it wrong,
up to date and more and is more like people working on it consistently on a consistent basis than the ones that we actually officially have from CIG on their webpage. So he says, but it's simply not accurate to use for comparisons. Neither the Cutlass or the Buccaneer actually have the HP you've listed here. So you're basically talking about their HP. Checking a few more times from the list, they're also not accurate either. So it's just, I was just laughing at it. And then, like I said, someone said something in this chat and they were just literally like defending, and I just wanted to scream. Like, I was just like, oh my God, please, why are you helping them? Like, they don't need it. They need to be actually asked this question. It's a really good question.
Yeah,
I just lost it because
I think the argument is people are saying that they can't give you the data because it's changing all the time. But it depends on the data. I mean, hardpoints don't tend to change, do they? On a ship, they've got what they've got. They've either got 3 hardpoints for 3 guns, or they haven't. They don't tend to change that stuff so much. But the thing is,
Yes, yeah.
Part of me feels like I get not having to keep changing the data if they keep tweaking stuff all the time. But the thing is, it's like they then on the other argument, when they bring out a concept ship, they manage to make a brochure on it and show you all the features of the ship inside the brochure and telling you what's on it and how it's meant to be and everything else. So I don't know, personally.
Oh yeah, like this guy said, he says, isn't it sad that we rely on Malogos and other sites to get all the data at all, while the official site for the web pages is never updated and full of errors?
We moaned about Turbo for a long time.
A prime example is the Saber still isn't listed with 4. It's still listed with 4 size 1 shields and an arrow with 1 size 1 shield. The Cutlass is a tiny bit tougher still. The Cutlass is size 4 missiles for a kill. Avenger, and they go on. They talk about other things, and then somebody comes in and says, "Oh, if the Buccaneer had an ejection sheet, then they would have to nerf the firepower." And I'm like, just going, it's just dumb people on Spectrum, you just like, why? And then the guy says something, and then they start arguing about lore, and I'm like, just like screaming at the thing, going, you're all just ignoring the clean and very, very obvious point. CIG isn't doing their updates, and he's having a go at people who are doing more updates than them and not being accurate. Well, they go and
they're not accurate because they don't have the data to be accurate with, do they? I mean, that's the thing. It's like,
go talk to the Turbulence guys and fix it. Don't bitch about people who are actually trying to help us.
I was looking for, because they were talking about this staggered development, which we can go on a bit later, but I looked back, I think 2 years ago, CitizenCon, because I was trying to find out where they first announced the quarterly releases, and I still can't find it. I know it's buried in there somewhere. I can't remember. But there was a big, I remember now, because we were sitting there and they had that Spectrum chat where I think the demo or something didn't work, and so they had that big massive conversation about Spectrum and all the things Turbulent was supposed to be doing on stuff. And like one of the things that come up was like there was supposed to be Spectrum in your Mobi-Glass in-game, and that was like 2 years ago, and it was like, oh, well, this is coming in patch 3.0 or something. It's like so many website changes that were meant to be implemented, and they just haven't implemented anything. They did that one website change a while back, saying, "Oh, look, everybody, it's all going to be." I think they said it was going to be kept up to date. That's literally what they said. We're doing this new website change. Things are going to change. Things are going to be kept up to date. And all it actually did was put a new front cover on the website.
Front cover on it.
That's all it did.
We said, yeah.
And that's that's over a year ago.
Yeah, and then he said we're going to lots of ICS changes, and then the name changes, and then like what they've done recently, which is really interesting, is obviously with this now they've like we talked about this before we came on. They've decided that they're going to change the quarterly kind of thing, and they're changing the development structure. So they're splitting up the teams into 2 teams now, or to trying to get feature complete for patches, rather than what they were doing, which is just trying to hang on, I'm trying to remember this. Is it feature complete, or what was the thing I'm trying to remember?
Okay, so this is what I was trying to look up. Anyone that sees it, I don't know, but when we first had the announcement of quarterly releases, so this is what we don't understand, and maybe I've been away for a few weeks, and Madness has only kept up with some things, so we don't know if we've missed anything. So tell us if we're wrong or if there's something we've missed. But basically, when it was first announced for quarterly releases, it was at I'm sure it was at CitizenCon, and they basically said these are the patches that are going to come, and it's going to come every quarter. And I thought, and this is what I was looking for, that the plan was meant to be that they will release the patch at that date, regardless of what was ready. Basically something wasn't finished, it would get pushed to the next patch, and they would still release it on the date. Now, I'm sure that's what was said during the presentation and the announcement, and I think that's kind of what happened, at least at the start. So the first patch obviously come round, stuff didn't make it, so they said that this isn't going to make it in time, so they pushed it back to the following 3.1 patch or whatever it was back then. And I thought that was the plan, right? So it was quarterly development releases, and they release what is ready when it was at that time. Because I remember us all talking in chat and going, well, at least we know now that we're going to get a patch. Because before it was always, are we going to get a patch? Oh, when's it coming? When's it coming? And we didn't know. So we all got behind it, and we were like, well, that's great, because it means we know we're going to get 4 patches a year of at least some content. We don't know if it's all going to be in there, but we're going to get it. Anyway, so
and they were hitting the times as well, weren't they? Like you said, they were hitting
they
those times
started off, and then obviously the last few times, each patch got longer and longer. Now they're saying they're going to be doing this staggered development. Now, like I said, I've been away and I've tried to catch up and watch the videos, but from what I can tell, what they were talking about is the staggered development means that apart from splitting the team in half, is that they're going to push back stuff that's not ready. Because before they said they were focusing on features, and they said they're not going to focus on features. They're going to focus on the date that it's supposed to be released, and then release what is available or done. And if it's not ready in time, they're going to move it to the next patch. Now, they're selling up as if this is a new staggered development process. But as far as I'm concerned, or at least as far as I remember, like I said, I could remember it wrong, but that was what their plan was in the first place. This isn't new.
I think that's what I remember.
I'm sure this is what they were supposed to be doing 2 years ago back in Frankfurt when they announced it.
And it is.
And
you're right.
All I can think is maybe they started off like that and then they got carried away with features. And this is why he's on about feature, like they're chasing features. So the last few patches that have been delayed is because they've been trying to get a feature finished before releasing it. So whether they knowingly changed it or unknowingly, I don't know. But all I can say is that maybe that's what's been happening. They haven't been sticking to the quarterly releases. What they've been doing is they've been focusing on a major feature for each quarterly release, and if that feature's not ready, then they're not giving us the release, which again is causing the missing the dates.
I mean, I think what they're doing is they're doing a classic CIG move, which they did this year, which is they're basically creating the same shit but just renaming it. You know what I mean? That's the way that I've kind of looked at it. It's just like moving the furniture around the house so you think you're in a new space. You know, it's that type of thing. They've done it with ICS inside StarCitizen. It's the same, and all they've done is reduce. It's like it's the same but less. is the best way I would describe it. And now, what drives me crazy, and I don't know about anybody else, and one of the things that's been driving me nuts is I've been watching a lot of Board Gamer, Mac, a lot of the guys who do these videos all talking about it, and they all keep saying like he's going to produce more content. And I don't know where they're getting their math from, because my math is in a totally different fucking world. How on earth can it be when you take your full team, split it in half, and say that half the team's now going to go and work on something else for the next patch, you're reducing your resources, suddenly give you more content? The math in my head just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like,
it's not more content because it's all, you look at 3.7 and it's been stripped back and moved to another patch.
I've got it here, the video. Let's bring it up. Let's look at the roadmap from 1 month earlier. I know everything moves, but everyone comes in channel and goes, "Oh, they change." Yeah, I get it. Things do change. But listen, 1 month for 4 weeks. I've got it on number in the Talking Points Reddit. We've got the roadmap update, and then we got the 1 month early to compare. So number 7 and number 8. So number 7 is the current one, the latest one, and then number 8 is the 1 month ago. And you can kind of already see. You'll be able to see kind of them chopping how much has kind of been axed. August the 9th, 2019, axed for the 3.7 versus what the, I don't know how you can show it, but you can see the axing of content, And that's just, they do that every patch. So it's not like this is nothing new. Like we've talked about this before. This isn't new. We're not talking about anything new. But what pisses me off is when they repackage it as something new. This whole new, like, we're changing this and this is going to be great and we're doing this. And I'm like, no, you said this, you were going to do this before. Like you said it before. You said it, Miz. Like, you already promised this. So you're just saying you're going to promising of a promise. I'm like, okay, great. And you're splitting your team. So now you're actually going to be doing less. You say you're doing more, which is fine. But you're doing less. You've moved docking back again. In how many years is docking being a thing? You know what I mean? Like, chat, it's like docking has been a thing for so long. It's like, just admit it. You can't fucking do it. Just be honest with us. You can't do it. It's not working. It's still not working. And then maybe that's what this new what's it called? This new sheet that they're doing. The appendix, the roadmap kind of appendix thing, the roundabout, the roadmaps roundup September thing. I think that's the thing that they do now. Now, I'm going to be pessimistic on this. I expect this is going to disappear within probably about 6 months because someone will be too busy to keep it up. If they can't keep up the web page information for they can't keep their web page up with their information for their spaceships for patches, do you really think they're going to be able to maintain and keep up with this? This will go. Or they'll come up with a new name and rename the roadmap roundup or something else. I honestly, I don't see this. That's me being maybe super pessimistic, but I don't see it happening. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but it's just like, I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. Because like clearly the rest of the people out there seem to think this is going to create more content. So maybe I've missed something. So please, chat, tell me where I'm wrong. How they're going to make more content per patch by dividing their team resources up. I don't understand.
Well, his reasoning behind it is. And I think someone just mentioned it in chat about the cave sort of thing, is that they're saying that someone's going to be working on some, like, the next patch features. Like, because I remember saying, I don't know, was it 3.7 when we looked at it and literally said, it's like when just before 3.6 was out, nothing had actually changed on 3.7. We looked at it, it's like 3.7 has got 0 development on it. Like, literally nothing was done on it. And so what they're saying is now they're going to put some people so that they start working on those things so that when the next patch comes along, they will at least have some stuff worked on. But then that means that they're going to be behind on the stuff that they're already working on.
Yeah. So it's like the end of a relay race, you know? It's like the end of the relay race.
I know what he's saying in theory, but I think in reality it's not going to work because you're saying if you can't 100% say, for example, patch 3.7 by the time of its deadline date, how is taking people away from that to get them to work on 3.8 going to make 3.7 work quicker? It just means more stuff will then have to be cut out of 3.7 and then added to 3.8. So then when you get to 3.8, some stuff will be worked on, but then half of that's going to have to be cut to go to 3.9 because the people working on that will now be on 3.9. You know, you just push.
Yeah, but no one's talking about it. Like, chat, no one says anything. Everybody, like, I go ballistic when I'm literally looking at the whole community going, like, I feel like the dude from like fucking, and maybe it's me, maybe I'm just wrong, but like I feel like the dude from Zoolander. Like, am I taking crazy pills? Am I? And it's like maybe the other people are all going, yeah, but we're the experts. We're the gaming experts. I'm like, I hope you're not the same gaming experts in the Forts article, because those were gaming experts as well who made kiddies games or whatever else, and you all dismissed those experts as not being experts. So I'm curious what actually constitutes an expert now.
The only way this new way would work is
not that I agree with the
if you go with the same way that they were talking about. You can't have more people working on, say, networking. Like, say we've got 10 people here, and they're all working on networking, and they're not getting any quicker than we're having 5 people working on that networking.
Yeah, that's that law of whatever it's called.
That works, if that's what's happening, that too many people are working on 3.7 stuff, that it can't get done any quicker as they're just getting in the way of each other, so we're going to put them onto the 3.8 stuff. Then, and only then, I think it would maybe speed it up. Otherwise, I can't see how that's going to speed anything up.
You said something literally before we started about this, which summed it up beautifully, about like, if this was the case, like a percentage or whatever, then they would have already had the percentage.
Oh, I said if having less people I said if having less people working on something was going to make it quicker, then the fact that they're concentrating 100% on Squadron 42 must mean that the StarCitizen PU would be complete by now. Because it's like, we're focusing, like, okay, we pulled everybody else off to work on Squadron 42, so surely StarCitizen PTU Live must be... I got to take back in a second.
You smashed the nonsense out. That was as soon as you said that, I was like, Miz for president, because he absolutely nailed why this is absolute trash, in my opinion. Absolute trash. Sorry. I just no. Like, you just smashed out the park with that. I was like, I was like, just their own system, and brilliant. Anyway, I want to end it there because I think that's the best place to end it. Miz just completely crushes their theory in 5 seconds. So yeah, that was that. And then what else do we have? What else was kind of cool about the caves? We had some mentioning caves. Let's talk about caves. Let's bring up caves. They've out of nowhere, the team that clearly is the best team in Star Citizen, the environment guys, the guys that seem to just like, clearly because they're German, I'm guessing efficiency or whatever, just keep absolutely smashing it out the park. And they just kind of like, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, guys, yeah, we that cave thing that we couldn't do before, yeah, we've done it and we've nailed it and we smashed it. I'm like, do you think we could hire these guys to do the docking? Because like they seem to have managed to get caves in okay, so maybe we should switch this team, rather than get them to do any more environments. Do you think we could put them on like docking and some of the other kind of like game mechanics that we salvage, maybe making the reclaimer work as it's intended to? Because I don't know about anybody else. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't see how they're going to make that reclaimer work, because I still think it looks technically wrong in every way. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it's going to come to the point where it'll just grab hold of a ship, and then a drill thing from in the middle will just rip it apart, and it will suck it in like a Hoover, like just eat it basically, and then all the bits will just travel through the ship.
Magic.
I can't. Magic.
It'll be magic. It'll have to be magic. It'll have to be magic, game magic, and then the realism people will be all crying, and we'll have to kind of.
But I wanted to see it go all the way around and put it up its own arse with the ship in it.
We'll have to get a realistic animation drink from a bartender somewhere so that they can drown their sorrows. Like it's
not 3 lumps of ice. You'd be able to fish in and grab the piece of ice with your hand and take one out.
It's not moving the way it's intended to. I need frost. I need ice. I need water droplets on my glass. That's where we need to get to. We need to have water droplets on the glass. I know we're being cynical and horrible now. We shouldn't really do that. But the cave thing, though, let's be positive. I'm going to be positive about the cave thing. I think it looks beautiful.
Okay.
It is more. Caves. I mean, British sarcasm is going to come out. British sarcasm is going to come out here.
Oh God. I know what you're going to say now.
It's more rocks.
The Asylum podcast has been going. How long have we been going between this and Addicted?
Rocks.
We've been going for years or so, and I remember doing a podcast where we talked about beautiful, beautiful rocks, and that's where we still are 2 years down the line.
We're still on.
But look how much more beautiful the rocks
talk about it. We've made them even more beautiful with root systems and things going through the rocks. And I just sat there and I wept tears. A bit of salt came out of the wheats, but I was just like, I was sat there going, it's beautiful. Your rocks look great. I'm so pleased for you. I really would have rather had refueling. I really would have rather had docking. I really would have rather have had, you know, all of those things. But hey, caves are beautiful. I mean, it's going to allow people to be able to have their FPS kind of, you know, pre-staged combat moments. Yeah, you know, they look what the environment team does fantastic, you know, and there's no question. I think you'd have to be dumb to say otherwise. I think they've done a great job. They look great. I'm sure. I think there's a picture.
I think it's not. It's not. See, this is where it all comes across bad. It's like we like the caves. The caves are really nice. There are some things I wanted to show off when the video stops buffering. I don't know what it's doing, but like there is some really nice things. It's the problem is it's not what we were waiting for or hoping for. Like we said, it wasn't on the roadmap 2 months ago, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, not only is it on the roadmap, it's done. But
that would be a positive though, Miz. All the things that have been dropped, everyone will forget and go, yeah, but look, we got caves. That came in without us like we were expecting.
And I think that's kind of their tactic, is they have something in the background that they can drop when they crush everything else out of it. So when you're disappointed by something, they go, but look, we've got this shiny thing that's working. Let me refresh this because it's not working. There we go. Let's see if that works.
But I'd rather have caves than nothing. There's no question in that, you know.
And
that's the point. So we've got to be positive.
And eventually, obviously, when the game's released, caves are going to be awesome. Caves is definitely something you're going to want some of the gameplay in there. It just kind of come out of the middle of nowhere, and it is talking about rocks. But on the positive side of things,
caves, would we care? Honestly,
it looks cool.
If we didn't have caves for 5 years.
I like. It looks like there's someone going to be abseiling. There's a picture of someone abseiling down, so that's obviously another game feature which they haven't mentioned, but that's obviously another game feature that we're going to be getting. Abseiling.
Oh, hang on, there's a rope. There's a rope, or is that just is that the roots?
No, there was someone dangling on the rope coming down.
Was that a dead person? Or?
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, first, I think that is the issue. Like, this is why we're trying to be positive. But the thing is,
we don't want to.
We said exactly the same with the planets. It's like see, this is where it's difficult because the technology behind it, we know it's great. The fact that they can procedurally generate caves, and like when they were talking about the sound effects that they were putting in there, the light sources. I mean, there's one with all the little glowworms. It's amazing. Looks fantastic. I've played other games, and like. One of the things I did in No Man's Sky, it was like, as soon as I saw a cave, I was like, I want to build a base in it. So totally love caves, love searching through them, and like when we play other games, it's sort of things we seek out and actually go and explore when it's got cool stuff in it. The problem is, as like everything else, first implementation, same as when the Planet Tech was coming, Planet Tech, oh wow, amazing, they've done an amazing job. But the reality is, it's going to be empty. And you're going to be basically looking in a big hollow hole with nothing in there. Now, they are bringing in mining and an FPS mining, so maybe that will make it a little bit more interesting. If you can go and mine some of the different rocks and things and explore and trying to find different rocks. It would be nice if they put some... Maybe they will be. Maybe they'll put some mission stuff in it, because that would be quite cool if you're exploring and actually find... See, I don't want to be sent to a cave... But it would be nice if you go to a cave and find like a data pad and that turns into a mission rather than being sent there, because it's like, oh, go and explore this cave, find this and come back. If you want that exploration feeling, I want those things to be hidden within the caves. Whether we're going to get that, I don't know. But yeah, this atmosphere, this thing looked really cool. What are people's thoughts on...
Cool. Very, very cool.
There was 2 things they mentioned which they said it could be a little bit, I think could be seen as taken 2 ways. Is the lighting of the tunnel. So obviously they said it's pitch black, so they put artificial lighting in it so you can see stuff. So what are people's thoughts on that? And the other thing is about the climbing up and jumping around. They said, they found a really clever way, like, because you've never played Tomb Raider before, of showing you where players can go by putting lichen and things like that on the rocks to kind of guide the player. I know.
No.
It's an amazing idea.
I've never played a game where they do that. I mean, I've never played a Nathan's Drake, kind of like, which involves a huge amount of climbing, Assassin's Creed, or I've never played anything where they kind of like subtly indicate whether you need to grab a hold of and climb up. That's they are breaking the mold with that one.
So, but more. We know they're not breaking any molds with that. But do you think?
At least it's there. I'm glad it's there.
Should it be in this game though? Like it's like.
What you mean the mold to tell you where to climb?
Well, you're on about aim assist, or like you're on about an assist on how to climb through caves. It's assisted cave exploring.
It's got to be in game.
I don't know.
What I want to know is how are we going to find these caves? Could you imagine, like, literally
walking the whole
you're going to
planet?
have servers of people just like look, there are some really cool aspects to potentially this if there was parts of this game that they had to expand on this. Like you said, base building. I don't know if we can base build inside here. And if they mentioned it, it will be on the insane list of soons.
Because you can't fly a Pioneer in there, and we can't carry panels, or we can't. There's no magic in this, so we can't carry panels to build a base in there. So
to build a base in there, yeah. So you have to be a prefabricated potential base. I think the reality is they talked about you'd have to potentially try and find one which had something pre-made inside it, and then you kind of like try and own the base, or like. And then the next question for me is if I own a piece of land, for example, do I then include all the caves within that 4 acres or whatever of land? If there's a cave there, do I then get access? Does that then become part of my land as well? The cave, the fact that can caves go on asteroids? For me, if I could get caves on asteroids, oh hell yeah, like that's dope in my mind. Like asteroids at the moment, like I said in the video, I want to shoot asteroids. I can shoot asteroids in No Man's Sky.
So you want to destroy someone's base?
So I want to be able to destroy asteroid bases, yeah, for sure. But I want to be able to see asteroids have destructibles. I want to be able to, I want to actually shoot asteroids and make craters, and I want to be able to. I want to go onto asteroids and walk around with caves in the asteroids as well. The technology. I'm hoping maybe at CitizenCon we might see something. Maybe we'll see more caves with snow and. Like for microtech, and maybe caves will be like in No Man's Sky, a safe haven for like dangerous weather planets and stuff. And the potential for caves is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I'm really pleased about it. I would have happily waited another 5 years for them, and I would have rather have had docking and refueling, like all those things that are years
or even just
overdue now.
Fauna and trees and lush landscapes.
Yeah, like, oh god, give us a green planet for sure. Because all we're going to get in Microtech is a winter wonderland of an ice snow version of more rocks covered in, and maybe some trees covered in. I definitely want a lush. Who doesn't want a lush planet? Like, there is like the one, like they show us it in the 890 jump. You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
Like, how many people don't want to have like a paradise planet, in this game? Like, we so do. And they show us it, and they tease our heartstrings, and then they give us rocks and snowy rocks.
I mean, one of the things I did like with the caves was the way they were making it so it felt. That's why I don't know why they put in this the assisted showing you where things is, because like they got it where you can crawl under the cracks and. Actually do proper, like, as if you're mountaineering, going under little holes and caves and actually, like, crawling through. And it's like, well, if you're going to show everybody where to go, it's like just following. It's almost like when you paint a yellow line around the supermarket and you follow that all the way around. It's like, it takes the exploring away. If they're saying, oh, look, guys, there's something interesting down here, crawl through. Like, you want people to discover those crawl places and that without being shown where it is.
Yeah, I guess they'll probably they'll do some testing and stuff, and the Evocati Sim boys will be like, no, you got to take that out. That's far too much like Tomb Raider, Maybe but then Chris might be like, no, I got to be able to see it.
I think I've got a bat going around outside.
Squeak, squeak.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, just subtly. I thought it was like
freaking bat. I thought something was weird. It's alright, I'm just getting attacked by bats. It's all good. I'm living in a cave.
I got foxes where I am, London foxes. They're just the horniest things on the planet, you know. And like every now and again, like I just like you just get the screeching sounds of them, and you're like, oh God, please, somebody do something about it. I keep feeling like I need to buy one of those horns from the hunting people so that I can have it next to my window. So when they do it, I can just lean out the window and go start giving the hunting horn. Just
somehow I don't think I don't think
the foxes would flip me the bird.
I don't think London foxes worry about the posh rural hunters.
No, they don't have a.
That's why they moved to London.
Yeah, that's where all the liberals are. They're like, yay!
Yeah, they haven't mentioned anything, have they, about finding the actual harvestables and that yet? They said we can get them, but they haven't shown us like the scanning mechanic or how that's actually going to work or how you're actually going to mine these. We've not seen anything about how you're going to mine these resources yet at all.
Not next. Is it next week? Something's coming, I think, isn't it next week? Disco said there's something coming next week, I think, about mining.
Oh, of course, because you wouldn't want to drop it all in one ATV, would you?
We've got to spread it out over those 10 minutes and those live episodes. No, they we'll wait and see. I'm curious, like how you're talking about the night vision, like the vision aspect and stuff. I still find it incredible that people talk about not wanting to have night vision and infrared and kind of like have the different kind of the ability to see. You know, I've seen people comments on that and people saying, "Oh no, it will break the game," you know, and all the rest of it. And I'm like, really?
Yeah. And the same way is like people moaning about the lights, but like I quite like the atmospheric effect having these lights. I like the pitch black thing as well, but I do think like it's a bit like the quantum jump. That's going to get boring if everything like you're not going to enjoy these vast caves if you're looking through a torch and only a torch. Like sometimes have it for the atmosphere, sometimes have the light to show the effect of a really cool looking cave. But what did make me laugh is they said that the torch has to go back for another rework. It's like, how many times has that fucking head torch had a rework because it's not good enough? It's like, yeah. So yeah, we're going to get another torch rework, folks. So it's going to be super bright one week and then it's going to be super dim another week. I remember the times when it was like this little camera thing that was about this big. And then the one time they did a patch and it was this big block on the side of your head. We've had so many torch changes.
Do you know what's kind of like, it's sad. It's like I just saw like a retweet from NVIDIA talking about like, you know, Cyberpunk with RTX switched on and RTX switched off. And I just sat there and I just was like, wow, that looks so good. I can't wait to play that game, you know, just sat there going, I just can't wait to play that game. It's you know, I'm enjoying playing finished games is all I can say right now. Like, don't get me wrong, like the StarCitizen process is dope. The community is amazing. It's a learning experience. It definitely pushes your patience buttons. But like I said, when I smell bullshit or when I see bullshit sometimes, I see like there's just kind of this hand waverium, you know? I got to talk about it. You know, that's what the podcast is kind of about. You know, we come in here and we got to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. What do you see? You know, educate me in what you see, YouTube. What do you see, Twitch? You know, am I wrong? I'm probably wrong. I'm more than likely wrong. I'm more than happy to be wrong. You know, we come back next week and then we can talk about all the things we were wrong and how you've informed us and educated us. And then we talk about that. And then we can maybe break that down and be like, yeah, that's right, that's wrong. Because at the moment, I just...
Tune in next week for why Miz and Mad are fucking assholes.
Mad is wrong. We're all wrong. We're all assholes and wrong. Like, why the fuck are these two guys still... Like, that's the thing is everyone always says this. Like, I get this one thrown at me. It's like, why are you playing the game if you hate it so much? Or why are you still following it? You know, I wish Madness fucked off and didn't do the game anymore or wasn't part of it or whatever else. I'm like, nah, I'm not going away because I'm going to be that annoying little reminder that there's something a little bit weird that you need that part of the conscience that you flicked off your shoulder because you were so drunk on Kool-Aid. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking here because I believe in the project, but I sure as hell think there's some serious problems.
It's not about I can't wait not liking the game. It's, I suppose, what would change is if, like you said, sometimes if they actually highlighted something and said, no, this is the direction we're going. So if they turned around and said, oh, we're going to be an aim assist or we're going to be a realism 100% sim game, then maybe you might turn around and go, actually, yeah, this isn't the game for me. At the moment, I suppose we're all sitting here with the hopes that it will be the game that we all want, and that's what's happening. We're playing it. You know, we've played this game for fucking years. Like, we're not.
Yeah, man, 3 years.
We're not
now.
on the Derek Smart aid either. We're not on the other side, where we're thinking it's all a load of bullshit. We're just
no. When I wonder, like, what my worry is, it's not really if it's bullshit. It's just how much wasted time are they doing is my worry. It's like, it feels to me like they waste so much time, and they've gone backwards and forwards so many times, and they continue to make the same pitfalls. They don't seem to at times be learning. They say they're learning, but it doesn't feel like they're learning when I see some of their actions and choices. And that's fundamentally what we're trying to get to here, is like, are you really learning from your mistakes? Are you really knowing when is a good time to stop? Like, now we stop. That's where we're at. Now we move on to something. It feels like they still have to push it just a bit too far to then have to come back again. You know, it's like that 2 step forward, 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of. They feel like they still push too far into wasted time and energy resources. Then they grumble about, we haven't got time to do this, or we this sprint, blah, blah, blah. I mean, these are just observations, peeps. I'm not a developer.
I also find it very difficult to know what people see as acceptable and not acceptable as well. Like, for me personally, doing this podcast and doing else, I backed this game since 2013, 14, whenever it was. I played and streamed it for a year, played it for a lot longer, etc., etc. But I just give my straight up opinion of what I believe. It's just my opinion, and it's what I believe when I see it, when they say it, and whether I think it's good, bad, or ugly. You know, it's just, that's what I do. I'm not saying that I want the game to fail. I obviously want the game to succeed, but some things I just pull out and I'm like, I don't understand why their decision is, and that sort of stuff. But people moan obviously that then they come and they say, well, we're salty or whatever, and it's like, firstly it's done with passion. If we didn't love the game, if we got that disenfranchised, we would probably just stop. We wouldn't bother, because like, it's our life isn't worth sitting here being salty about it if we didn't give a shit about it. I'm not one of those sort of people. Yeah, I'm not one of those sort of people that goes on about something they don't like. But my point
is flight model.
Yeah, but because we've tried it when it was better, and we're hoping that. And this is my point that I'm trying to get to, is that by our comments, by us saying we don't like it, it gets changed. Now, if you're one of the people that thinks that you should always take the Kool-Aid and say, oh, this is fantastic, or you don't want to bring up any of these issues, then nothing, like, I don't know, should we bring up these issues so that they can listen and then they can change things, or should we not? Because a prime example would be recently, I know Detox moaned at you because you were slagging something off, and he said, look, I don't even know where you're going with it, or is your ego getting in the way or whatever. But then that was under the same breath, there's obviously a bug, I think, was it with the 890, that it was blowing up really easy, or it's one of a certain type of gun. I'm not very good at the gun person. The attrition guns just went through everything.
Penetrating shields.
And they, the Dark Lord and everything else, all kicked up a stink and said, this is breaking the game, it's not playable, blah, blah. And then lots of people got behind it, and guess what? It got changed. So is that them being salty and expecting CIG to listen, or is it a valid point and therefore enough people mentioned it and it got... So where do you balance it? That's what I suppose I'm trying to say, is the things we're saying, like when you complain about the flight model, is that any different if you feel that flight model's broken and it's ruining the game? Is that any different to them saying these guns are ruining the game? And that's what I'm trying to say. It's like they moaned through passion of the game. They wanted the game to be better. That's what we're doing. We're moaning through passion of the game. We want it to be better. Is there a difference between it? I don't know. That's I suppose for you guys to decide and say. But I
think Miss is on fire tonight, chats. Like we all miss. I miss you, Miss. Like literally, just like you're not allowed to go away on holidays again. Just absolutely smashing it out of the park here, dude. You nailed it again there. That's exactly right. Like, what makes them more special? What makes your opinion more special than another person's opinion? It doesn't. Your opinion isn't more special.
Like they felt
maybe got more people.
Yeah, they felt those guns made the PU unplayable. Your opinion is the bad combat makes the PU unplayable. So why is that group been listened to when your group hasn't? Probably because your group would take a hell of a lot more work than just toning down some guns. And that's what I suppose
yeah.
probably the difference between that is that they could just flick a switch and take the attritions out of the game, which is what they were asking for.
Well, the kicker is, Miz. Here's the kicker. The kicker is that issue with attritions has been going on for almost a year. All right, a year. It only got fixed because CIG's brand new sweetheart ship got into the game, and it embarrasses them when a Dragonfly can take down. So a Dragonfly is like $20. Yeah. And take down a capital ship. So it was embarrassing. So they looked at it and were like, oh, this is a bug. But it's not a bug. If you actually look into it, attritions were built around the system of being able to penetrate shields. They were supposed to penetrate. A percentage of the force is supposed to go through shields and hit the hull. The problem was all of it was going through the shields and hitting the hull. So all they did was they nerfed the gun. But they didn't actually...
And the other problem is I think nothing's got armor. Didn't they talk about armor being implemented? Armor. So that's why it's blowing up so quick, is because it hasn't got armor.
So they are making, again, this whole process of open development is they are having to double, triple work half the time to be able, because they have to keep, and this is oh God, this is such a good conversation, because this leads again to the problem, again, this actually all comes all the way back to finances again, because if CIG was financially sorted, like as in they've made enough money, they're now just making a game, they don't need any more money, they could literally, they don't have to keep pumping out new ship assets, like really big, expensive ones or new ones or whatever else it is, and bring them into the game because they don't need the money. You know what I mean? But because they need the money, they keep adding more ships, which creates more work, more balancing issues. They bring more guns in, constantly bringing in things, constantly adding to it. So they keep making their workload of all this type of stuff exponentially more and more and more. You know, I see it every time I see, I think I was watching Super Mario Ryan's video the other day, and he was listing out all this new stuff that's coming. Like, oh, these great new things are coming in and all this stuff. But then if you actually break down, like I needed to break down the sentence, but he mentioned the stuff because he mentioned the stuff. And then it was like, there was one feature, and then there was about 12, when we do this, soon, when we can do this, we'll maybe do this, or we'll do. It's honestly, I swear to God, so much of it is hope with a tiny splash of reality. And that soon list in stuff from CIG it's got to be astronomically massive now, because everything seems to have, oh, we're going to do this, and when we can do this, and when we
quite
can do
often
that, and when the
this will be fun. This will be fun
Yeah.
when we can do this. This will be fun when that's implemented. That sort of thing. It's like, oh, we've got caves. Well, they're going to be fun when they populate it with stuff. The planets are going to be fun when they put the quests in, but all the quest givers have been pushed back to another patch because of their locations or something like that. So and it scares me, because it's just it's the constant language, and it's like everyone, and there's nothing. And again, I don't want everyone to like, oh my God, look at the doom and gloom all the time. But what I do want is a bit like student debt in this country. It's like it's all happening, but we'll just stick our heads in the sand and ignore that that's building up and building up and building up and building up over here. And the reality is that mountain of debt and features and things are promised. There are people in the community who are all waiting and expecting those things. You know what I mean? They're waiting and expecting them, and now they have to go through this enormous list and tick them off and get them done. And then, it just terrifies me, like how much money they're going to need if they're already on 40 million a year to keep themselves going. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my God, they're so screwed. Yeah, I mean,
because you're gonna have to, and they have to keep. That means we have to keep. That's the thing, is it's a perpetuating cycle. They have to make more ships to make more money.
But making money is at least currently still not an issue for them. They, you can look at the sales of the 890 and things like that. It's like as soon as it's, the concierge events, the everything else. It's like, I mean, even these. Another one is these new helmets, which we can show off. Because it's kind of on the topic of singing. It's like, well, again, they put it in there, and I can guarantee you people subscribed so that they can have these helmets, right?
Yeah, but this brings my point, though, Miz. It's like these helmets are already broken. They already have no information. They're supposed to be heavy damage. The heavy damage is going to come later. So again, you're adding an asset into the game that isn't necessarily working for money.
I don't know if it's not working, or is it the description's not right? I'm not sure what
the description's not right.
I think it's just the description. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, why is the description not right? Why was that not scene when it went through. I mean, I really like the helmets, but this is what I mean by them making money though. Is because they make something that looks really cool, and it's like, well, let's monetize that. Let's sell it, because I don't think there's one in game that you can get with in-game currency. So it means you either have to subscribe, which gives you it, or you then and then the other 3, because there's 6 of them. So there was 3 sets. So it's 4 of them were for subscribing, and 2 of them were sold as a set on the store. But they're not sold on the store for normal people. They're sold on the sub store. So you have to sub to be able to then buy the other ones. So it's like, they know they can make money, but let's make something look really cool. People are lapping this up. Okay, we'll sell it. Like, it's not in game. Now, whether you like that or not like that, that's a different opinion and a different conversation, I guess. But what I'm trying to say is, they know how to make money, right? They know how to bring a ship out and people buy it. This buyers buy it, they buy it. So
I'm not questioning
I think them running out of money,
that.
unless still people get disenfranchised with the whole thing, they're not gonna have problems with making money. I think that's the reality of it.
I think if they have to require my point is this: if you have a massive debt of a continued massive debt of features and things that you need to complete, and you're already struggling to complete what you have now, and you're still hiring more 100 people, whatever it is, more to try and add staff to get through this, because that's fundamentally what you need to do, and you keep adding more because you're having to because you're funding it through adding more bits. It's like you just keep adding debt. You know what I mean? It's like they just keep adding more debt to what they're trying to do. And then they need to have more people, so they have to make more money to pay those people. And then in order to make that, it's like it's like this continuing cycle that they just keep having to do, if that makes sort of sense.
Yeah,
I'm not doing a great job of explaining it.
I totally get that. But the problem is, what you're talking about is more of when will people give up on it? Like that's
it's not really.
Well, that is kind of what you're saying, because otherwise, all the time people are supporting the project. All the time people aren't, like, basically, if you can sit there and keep believing that soon is the answer. So, when's this feature coming? Oh, it'll be coming soon. Okay then. Cheers. I'll sit back and wait. Oh, this is coming soon. Oh, cheers. Okay, I'll sit back and wait. So it's when you stop believing that soon and you start going, where the fuck is my game? Okay, where the fuck is my game? That's when it changes. It's like the difference is when
I think.
The more and more people get fed up with the soon. What, for you?
A lot of people.
But is that for everybody?
I think it's for the average. I think for the average person, it's anywhere between 6 months to a year and a half. I think people start to realize.
Well, this
honestly,
is 6 years.
If you look at there's a couple of diehard saddos like us, but if you actually look at there's a lot of people I see in chat and Twitch. I use Twitch as kind of a guide. I know it's not the full picture, I know that, but I look at it as like a kind of a cross section, kind of small / section of the community, and I look at the people in people's streams, channels and stuff. A lot of new people. A lot of new people, a lot of new faces, and there's a couple old heads who are who are big fans and love the communication, love the chat, love all this type of things that we do, and they love the game. I love the game too. I love to watch it. I love being part of it. But I just think there's a lot of new people, and they don't know, and they talk a lot, they say a lot, but they don't have the background history. You usually hear the same old rhetoric of, well, I knew about the Kickstarter back in 2014, but I just wasn't committed, and I just bought into it in 3.0 or 3.5, and you hear all that kind of thing, and I'm like, that's cool, man. I appreciate it.
You kind of see that through the viewers of StarCitizen. Like, the viewers don't increase, and the viewers do decrease a bit, but I think mostly it's cycles. So it's like new people, a new advert, like you said, a new advert comes out or something comes out, and then you get a fresh bunch of faces. You get the old people that are there constantly, and then you get a fresh bunch that come in and start having a look at it and go, oh, what's this all about? And they play for a little while, and then they also stop. I think, like you said, the camp is whether you're still believing in the project or whether you've pulled out completely because you've given up on the project. Like, I know that there's a lot more that are saying I'm not putting any more money into it because they're not necessarily given up, but they've stopped giving money to it. So then you're relying on the wows to keep it going because they've put so much in there and they want to keep pumping it through. But
yeah, exactly. No, they do. There's that that the rise, I always find, we always talk about the rise in numbers is whenever there's like a major kind of patch. Is my opinion is mainly due to the fact that there's all those 2 million backers, 1.2 of them, whatever it is, come back to play the patches now because they're those people. Like I say, you get, I think. Open development is showing it's really hard, and and it's even harder than they probably expected, and for all the reasons we've discussed. And it's
but on the same breath, it's made them a lot of money.
It's made them well, yeah. I mean,
if you imagine we didn't have open development, but every now and again they just released a concept ship idea, you wouldn't buy that.
If
people buy it on the hopes that they're going to be able to fly it soon, even if they know it's not going to be soon, they still buy it on the hopes that they're going to be flying it soon.
Yeah,
which is why they go into this. Which is a bit why they go into this straight flyable. Sorry, I'm eating stuff because I've got a cold and a throat. I was trying to.
No, it's cool, man.
So
no, go for it. I
apologise, people, but I think that's why they're trying to go from this straight to flyable, because they know they'll sell more. Because that's what's making people buy it, because they want to go and fly it.
That's interesting. Like Cruz says, like if you closed it down for a year, what would happen? Well, they kind of did that in like when we got to the 3.0 period, and they're kind of maybe that's where we're going now again with the full quarters. Maybe the quarterly thing is they don't want to do that. They find that too much of a strain is not working for them, and I thoroughly believe I wouldn't be surprised if they went to a two-patch system where they just release one at Christmas and maybe one kind of around Gamescom and maybe CitizenCon / Christmas time. We wouldn't be surprised if that's what would happen. And I know many people would be like, yay, cool. Honestly, I think some people would hate it. People would be like, oh, they're going away and stuff. But there'll be a huge amount of the community be like, we understand, because there's lots of people in the spectrum who understand. I'm an expert. I understand. There's tons of those, lots of those. Oh my God, I don't know how many experts I bumped into. If they were all experts, they must make a lot of games. There's a lot of gaming people out there.
There are, but
there is. There must be.
It's I think that, like you said, of reducing the patches, it could well happen if these quarterly patches they strip them back and there's nothing in them. Because I think that's why they changed their mind from the announcement that we was talking about. Because I think they then focused on a key feature for each quarter, so that they had something that they could say they put in. A bit like this, even now, like the caves. It's like is this being held off because they want to put the caves in? Like, why is 3.7 not out today or tomorrow? It's like they were holding stuff back so that they can at least say this patch has got something in it, rather than just this patch introduced a ship and a couple of fancy things, a couple of guns or something. And if they stick with this, releasing it on the date type thing, that might be what will happen. They'll get to that date and say, well, this ain't ready, so we'll scrap that. This ain't ready, so we'll scrap that. This ain't ready, so we'll scrap that. And then you get left with not much left in a patch. And then they'll be asking themselves, well, is this worth it? And then what we'll end up doing is we'll be going back to we're going to deliver it when it's ready. So we'll get patches coming constantly through the year again. Yeah. I guarantee that's probably where we'll end up going.
That's what I said. We're in a weird carnival. StarCitizen is like a carnival, and we're on some sort of weird merry-go-round that just we keep going around. We keep going in one direction, thinking we're making loads of progress, and then we swing around and we suddenly go, oh. Or like when Winnie the Pooh gets lost in the forest and he keeps finding his old tracks again. That's the way I feel like I'm in StarCitizen. It's like, I can't leave this forest. You know what I mean? I keep trying to leave the forest and we keep coming back to and going, oh, I've already been over these tracks. I've already done this, like combat. Everyone talks about like, that's why when I watched the combat, I was like, it's just the same.
To be honest, I don't know why. Like when they added this Delta patch ages ago, it was, we were before that we were having patches just when they were ready. They didn't want to release patches. Well, their argument was because we'd have to keep downloading the whole thing all over again. Then the Delta patch had come out, and it was like everyone was like, "Wow, we're going to get lots of little patches because it's easy for them to drip feed it to us. That's what we're going to get."
Yeah.
And it never happened because their announcement as soon as the Delta patch had come. Well, as soon as the Delta patch had come, they then decided to do this quarterly release, which does away with all the mini patches. Okay, I know we get a couple of tweaks when something's wrong, but I had the impression that once that Delta patch was going to come, it was like, say, oh, we're working on trees at the moment. And once these trees are fixed, guess what? They're going to they're going to be in the game. Next week, we're putting trees in because they're done, and we can feed it down the Delta patcher, and there you go, you've got trees. And that never happened, and I feel like, why didn't we get that?
You have to change this game to be like we're all in a permanent Evocati system. That's the way I look at it. And we are kind of in that way. What we do ultimately is testing. If they talked about the hover mode and they basically referred to us as, hey, we tested this, and you guys, like, we are literally, in my head, like, Evocati is almost pointless then, because they're already admitting that the whole community is Evocati. You know, so just ditch that shit, get rid of that load of garbage, and just have one massive, they keep that for people who like to be these groups, by the way. The only reason this is Evocati's in, I'm sorry to say, I'm just going to burst people's bubbles. It's a group. It's like the freaking the millennial club, the people who spent $10,000 on a ship. They get a little badge, a gold spacesuit. Sorry, Phantom Killer, I know you're one of those people. You get a little certificate, you get a little thing, you go to a special room somewhere, you get to be surrounded by the same special people. It's just that. It's all it is. It's just purely that. And Evocati is the same thing in my mind. I'm sorry to say. We are all Evocati. The whole freaking game is testing. I'm sorry. They even admitted it with Overmode. So get rid of Evocati. Do what you said. Put it all in. Bring in a small patch. When something's fixed, drop it in. We'll play it. We'll test it. Do that. I agree. I think that's would be better. You know, it may be more money, but then charge.
I think because they keep. What I don't get with StarCitizen at the moment is that it's this whole surprise thing, and I know they save stuff for CitizenCon so they can go, oh, boom, here's this surprise. And that's kind of what they've been doing with these patches. They save it all up so that they can drop a quarter patch that's got caves in it, that's got this in it, and you can really sell it as an amazing patch. And they feel like this, almost like a showmanship of, oh, wow, look how fantastic this is. We've worked on all this, and here you go. And I think by releasing it as it's done, takes away their feeling of showmanship. It's like, oh, VoIP's working today. We've managed to get it into QA. It's working well with them. I tell you what, we're going to push it to live, and it's no fanfare event. There's no fanfare if it's just happening next week because it's ready. No. They don't get to fanfare it and say, look at this feature we've added. Whereas we played No Man's Sky. Okay, it's a finished game, but they've been patching it like fuck since the last patch that they just did, and it's almost every day. It's like, oh, okay, we've added this, we've altered this for VR, we've changed this, and like other games, that's what they do. They just drip feed it because they just want, they want those features in and those features to be played and for it to be working over the showmanship of it all. They don't want to be they're not bothered about saying at the end of the week, oh, by this year we've actually given you this, and this feature. I feel like the showmanship is taking over too much from just delivering us stuff to test and play, and that's what I think these quarterly patches have been done. That's why I think we've waited that's why we've had such a long delay on some of these patches, because they've been waiting for the showman drop, the thing that they can show off.
Do you think that harkens back to, and some people might say this, an element of delusion in the state of the game?
From in which point of view? Their point of view or the players?
Let's say from their point of view. Well, a bit of both, actually, to be fair. You know, there's a little bit of delusionment in terms of like when we see those like commercials and stuff, like what we expect, but more in the sense of like, say, from Chris,
Yeah, because I think
I'm just going to call Chris because he's the guy at the top. Do you think he's deluded in the state of the game? Do you think he's deluded in the state of, what is out there, what we're playing? Do you think he's, because he's thinking bigger picture and going, he sees the end.
I feel he's a bit more deluded. They're deluded in the terms of the importance of the good press or the media marketing at the moment. That's where I feel the delusion is. I feel like they're too, and which is like you said about getting the attrition sticks, because it's embarrassing for them when it goes in all the gaming magazines that their capital ship has blown up in 2 seconds flat. Where I think they're too worried about their image instead of instead of just open development and you're giving it to your fans, almost like imagine it was Patreon and only the people that subbed could see your open development. If it was locked, they would be happy because no one's really seeing it other than the real fans that are backing it. But the problem is these gaming magazines and everybody else is getting to see it, and I think they worry. Well, personally, I think they worry too much. They obviously don't think they do. They're worried about their face to everybody else, whether these gaming magazines and everybody else, what they're going to say when they drop it. Whereas these gaming magazines, 90% of the time, slag them off anyway, so I don't think it... Like, you can see it when... Like, we've discussed this lots of times when you see the CitizenCon demos. When something goes wrong, Chris almost loses his shit on the stage because he wants... Like, instead of going, it's alpha, guys, you know from testing, we know it crashes, never mind. He wants the CitizenCon demo to be so smooth like it's a finished game. He wants it to be shown to the world like it's a finished game.
You missed it. You're all talking. You missed the dude on top of the hill.
Yeah, you're missing it.
Shut up and pay attention. You're missing all the best bit. No, I think there's definitely that. Which is, again, I understand. Not like I don't understand why someone would be.
Well, we all want great press, mindset.
Right? Like, yeah, exactly. I understand that. But then when I also go this is where I say the delusion. This is why I use the word delusion, because I kind of go, but dude, seriously. You sell ships packages for $27,000.
Yeah.
You
don't worry about your image.
I wouldn't give a shit. Exactly. Don't worry. Like your image is already in the toilet anyway. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. Within most of the community, you are seen as a scam. If you look, all you have to do is watch Twitch and see the shit that gets spieled down the side when it's at Gamescom or whenever StarCitizen pops up. All you see is the meme StarCitizen scam just thrown down the side. How much money did this cost? How much money is wasted?
People that aren't backers or fans.
Don't worry about it. It's done.
People refer to it as, and like a good example is what you said right at the start of the stream with your wife. A good example, and even my missus is exactly the same. Well, it's just a scam, isn't it? Like that you're talking about people that only listen to the game on a peripheral sense. Like they see us as fans and spending, and instead of thinking, that they're doing a good thing, our own fucking partners are looking at us going, why are you sending money to this scam? Like. And that basically, unless you're a fan or a backer, that is how most people refer to StarCitizen. And everywhere I see, even on like when people are talking, I'm in a Sea of Thieves group, and people are going, if you mention StarCitizen, their response is, that game that's never coming out. So even if they don't say it's a scam, they just say, it's the game that's never coming. That's literally its title, is the game that's never coming out when you mention StarCitizen. So they're worrying about whether one of their patches look dodgy or one of their patches make the game not look so good. Stop worrying about that. What you need to do is actually give us some content and make stuff so that people turn around and see it and go, wow, that looks amazing. Yeah. Instead of worrying about whether you give us something that's buggy. Because no shit, people, the patch that you put in it's going to have bugs in it. It's going to have it. So just stop worrying about your image. Start producing stuff and giving it to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what they said in the latest I See Live or StarCitizen Live. Is he literally said that? He goes, well, you're going to start seeing more polished features because we've got more people working on it for longer.
Yeah.
We don't. It's the non-polished. We're not moaning about the non-polished feature. Most people are happy that the mining's in. They don't worry that it's not 100% how mining's going to be in the future. We just want a basic version of salvaging. We just want a basic version of repairing in. We don't want the polished feature straight away.
They're too much like artists. I think they're too much self-pride in and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's the same thing. I would see it with me when I do my artwork or whatever. I don't want to hand this over until it's right. I don't want to hand it over this piece or whatever until it's, until my drawing is perfect or, whatever. I get that. I really understand that thing. But the truth of the matter is it doesn't matter. People are going to eat it up and they're going to love it and hate it, whether you deliver it at the end polished or not polished. So honestly, it's better to just hand it over earlier without, and just get the feedback earlier and get it out there quicker, even in an unpolished state. It really is. If you wait so long until the end process, it will be more of a mess.
Well, what makes more sense is to give us it not in a polished state, though, because like the hover mode, you can turn around and say, this isn't working. You can give that feedback well before, if they spent all that time polishing it so it's the perfect hover mode, give it to you and then you still say it's shit. Like, that's all that time's wasted, isn't it? It's like... You got to be careful because, like, we were saying earlier about the hover mode, about having more features complete on it. So we've got to be careful because we are kind of, like, saying the opposite. Well, it wasn't the features on the hover mode, it was the other features that go with it. So that in order for it to... It's got to be able to function in the right way, I suppose.
Yeah. that's the thing. Is this is why, you know, this is where the trick is. Like, this is why Star Citizen, everyone talks about the development team are always stuck between a rock and a hard place, because we say one thing and then we say another thing, and you know, and I appreciate that. But I think there comes, like, for me, you don't have to polish it to the point where, I think it's when we talk about polishing, I think that I always think of when they say polishing, it's like rendering, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of, it's visually stunning, and it's got like, and all that kind of thing. And I'm like, it doesn't need to be so.
And all the rocks, and it mines perfectly, you know, the right percentages or whatever. It's like, yeah.
What I mean is like, so long as they have all enough of the features into it to make the task work and to be able to do it, like, that's good enough, probably for me. As long as there is not, you know, I say that, but then I'm like, well, I don't know. So I mean, I do feel that they're in a hard place on this one, and this is where the open development side is kind of like, it's tricky. But
yeah, you don't polish something so that it's a state of when the game's live, it's ready. Like, we all know, like we said, that, you know, the Moby Glass, yeah, we moan that it doesn't work, but most of us know that's also not the finished state. So we don't go mad about it and say, oh, the Moby Glass is totally a waste of time, scrap it. But, you know, it's functioning, it's doing a UI, so we know that, you know. Yeah. We ask for some improvements, which is when they then go and take away and start improving the map on it or improving the functionality of it. It's not polished, you know, it doesn't need to be polished, it doesn't need to be like, this is what we imagined tomorrow. Like, I think they said something like, it goes, you know, it's something like, oh yeah, it's not, we're going to deliver it, but it's not finished. Like, no one's expecting you to deliver anything in a finished state. Not at this level. You know, you shouldn't be expecting it to be in a finished state.
Maybe they are. Maybe that person is Chris.
They maybe, but
maybe that's who it is. That's who
we're not even in alpha, let alone beta, so shit shouldn't be in a finished state when you're delivering it.
But again, that comes back to, like, maybe Chris sees the game as finished. So if again, you always got to come back to the person at the top who's ultimately the decisions. And if that person at the top believes and looks at the game and says, this is finished, I need this, the game is finished. You know, the game's finished. It's out there. We've already established it's on release already. It's a soft release, whatever you want to call it. It's great. It's got more content than most other games out there. You know, if that's the guy in charge and he's saying that, then I can understand why every time they say it needs to be finished, because they maybe are talking about Chris. It's finished for Chris.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like a prime example, although we don't 100% know, is like the Banu Defender. Now, they said they delayed it last time because they haven't decided on all the right textures and materials to represent that race from within inside the ship. Now, they rework so many ships. Like, does it really matter if you released it with a texture that didn't look exactly the way you wanted it, and then later on, like, if it functioned as a ship and it has all the rooms where it's supposed to be, but say the texture on the wall doesn't look alien enough, does that matter? Like, could you not give that and then polish it afterwards? Like, the more time you think about it and when you develop the alien, because I guarantee you now, when they bring out the Banu Defender, like, they still haven't shown us Banu. They still haven't worked out many ships. No doubt they'll go back and they'll redo it to make it look a different way. They've done it with the Vandal ships. They've even said now they're going to do it with the 600i. They're going to go back and they're going to redo some of the interior bits or something to make it follow the design more of the 890 jump. So not redo the ship. So don't get me wrong, I'm on about texturing and things like that and style design. They're not remaking the ship, but they said they're going to go really back and do it. And that's, I suppose, what I mean by polishing. Should it, like, don't give us a polished, finished Banu Defender so that ship's done. Like, just give it to it so it's in a state. Like, I mean, this is something I talked about ages ago, where things can be given to you in white box stage, and then they could update and give you text and textures and things later on. You know what I mean? It could be done.
But and then it comes back to what you were saying, is like, if you do produce a game like now in white box, then you're with white box assets running around, you are fundamentally showing out there to the rest of the world that the game isn't finished, and that's not good enough for Chris.
Well, no,
you can't get all those amazing videos. Those sunsets won't work if the ship is all white and not working and has got, you know, with logos printed on it saying ready to be textured all over the front of it. It won't work. Exactly. And that's it. Like, for me, I've always wondered, is why are all the ships, why in every single ship are they finished when they constantly have to rework the interiors?
Well, that's exactly.
They constantly don't know about the components. Why not have them all? So literally, you just have an entry point, and the whole of the insides is like just like a flat bed, you know, like literally just a shell, just this pure skeleton. The outside work, and all you have to do is just get to the seat at the front where you fly the ship.
Well, they can still have assets in place if that's where you want those assets. But I mean, the other thing is, but yeah, I know, but that is the problem because that's where they've gone. That's where they're at now with. Going forward with components, because that was another thing that was in StarCitizen Live, saying that all those components that you see in the ship that you need to be able to change, well, you can't change them because guess what? They're textures. They're just painted on textures, so that you can't actually physically. So now they've got to go back and they've got to remodel it all so that you can actually have that component pop out, open up, pop out, and you can take it. Because otherwise, it's actually just a flat texture that they've put the image on. And so, yeah, it's going to get reworked. And then on the other thing, so going back to the Banu Defender and talking about the texturized station thing.
By the way, being positive, super excited about, by the way.
I can't wait.
One ready to,
but I'm just saying, I need it sooner. I don't need to wait for all this shit because what they're saying is now is that they're going to go back to, well, another discussion was about the 300i and the customization and why we haven't seen other customization on other ships.
Yeah.
And they said that it's because they're still, I mean, whether you believe that anyways, they're still working on the numbers and figures from the 300i data. There's a lot of data to take in and they've got to look on it. But they said they've got to go back to the other
didn't make
ships
as much money as they hoped.
and make them, and they've got to work out how they make these other ships personable, because they want that sort of customization for all the ships. So now they've got to go back to all the ships they've already made and choose how they are going to be customizable. And going forward, same thing. Now it's going into the pipeline, I think. They were talking about some new future ships that are going to be developed. They're going to have to consider how these ships to be customized. I mean, why that was never thought about in the first place, I don't know. Like we've all said before, we all want to customize our ships. They've already said before we're going to be able to change the colors, and yet they've all built these ships without knowing how they're going to customize them. So anyway,
I drop into Borderlands. I go into the spawning. There's a little terminal there. I spawn up my ship. I've already picked up some skins that I can then change the color. I go in. There's a little tab there that has all the little color squares on it. I select I can select primary, tertiary, secondary, whatever. And immediately, I have a color palette of maybe like 50 different colors to choose from. I have then across the section, I have 3 different pre-arranged areas of the vehicle that I can change the colors, which StarCitizen could easily do if you wanted to kind of like limit, you know, the amount of customization. You just do that, and now almost instantly you've created how many thousands of variable options of that ship in that. But they can't monetize that. So they monetized it with this one. When you just said that they wanted collecting data, they're finding out how much money that's made them. That's
Probably.
all. That data is just to find out how much money has this potentially made. What is the potential revenue stream?
Do we focus on that? Or do we focus on something else because that's making us money?
That's what it is. It's purely that. And again, like people would say in chat, and I agree with them, like, you know, they need to make money. You know, customizing and features and all this type of thing are kind of good. I still think it's bullshit that I have to pay for a freaking orange spaceship when that should be standard. You should be able to color your bloody spaceship in game, no problem. But, you know, like special skins and things is fine. But, But what I mean is, it was kind of onto the point of that they're worrying about releasing the Banu with finished textures, and yet they're going to have to go back and rework all the ships because if people want to change their paint scheme, they need to be able to do that anyway. So why couldn't they just release the Banu without the finished textures and then, you know, blah, 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 blah. Well,
we don't need the polishing stage, you know, we don't need the polishing stage.
What's the color options for the Banu? Like, you wouldn't have. Is the Banu just going to be one color only? Like, it seems a bit silly. Like, you would have thought the Banu would maybe have some slight variation, especially as they're traders, especially as they've pitched the lore as they're a bunch of Persian, you know, people who are kind of on camels running around. Now, if anyone's ever been to the Middle East and been out to there, that place is like a wash of creativity, visual creativity in terms of colors. Yeah. Stylings, details, gold, trims, metals, metallics, all that stuff. So I guarantee you, the Banu Merchantman, realistically, if it's based on that type of mindset and those type of people, should be a wash of colors and mixes of metallics and metals and precious herbs and all sorts of cool things. Especially the BMM. because the BMM is meant to be this trade ship from all over the verse, from Vandal to Xion to humans to whatever. Like, I honestly think the BMM really should be one of the last ships in game. For that fact, they should really have all the other species in game, and the BMM should probably be one of the last ships, especially if it's meant to be a merchant that's been doing it for thousands of years or whatever, hundreds of years, trading with all of these people. It makes so much more sense to me. So yeah, anyway, that's just my view on that.
So that's there we are.
Sorry. Well, let's try. I'm trying to think of some positive stuff. Let's try and dig out some.
Let's see if we can end on something positive.
Audi builds the rover. Have you seen that? It's on 51 in the Reddit. Audi actually built the rover, so it's like StarCitizen is influencing.
Oh, I think I did see that. Yeah, where is it? That looked cool.
It's really cool
when it loads. Doo. Or not? Come on.
I'll wait for you.
It's not loading.
Not loading? Really? Oh, come on. I got it here. The link? I'll put it in chat for anyone that wants to see it.
Yeah, it's just it's just a white screen saying loading for some.
There it is. Audi Rover, built by Ursa Rover. There, I was on Reddit. I saw this. I was like, it looks almost exactly the same. It's spooky, actually, how close it looks. I was like, wow, that's really is quite similar. Maybe that's going to be the Origin Rover that we're going to get. That you'll get like a kind of a variation.
Oh, there we go. Starting to work now.
Oh, cheers, Heavy. Appreciate it. Glad you liked it. We don't necessarily want to appeal just to somebody like yourself. We'd like to appeal to other people as well. Don't want to appeal to haters.
Here's a positive.
Haters out there.
This is very well done.
Well done, guys. What's also interesting is another one for you, like an interesting one, just to chat about briefly. I think you talked about this to me. Is that the spaceships in game versus this, like in terms of film, like the Millennial Falcon, in terms of scale and size, actually isn't correct in film versus like the because they build the spaceships for people to walk around in them. The Mercury Starliner is really big, compared to the Millennial Falcon, which is it's based on. The actual scale of it, the Millennial Falcon's not quite correct to be as big as it is, which I found fascinating.
People like to put corridors and things like that. Like they like to see a film asset and think, oh yeah, how would that fit? But they don't worry too deeply about that when they don't have to make it a flyable ship, so they don't have to worry about it completely working.
Yeah.
Audi just won the ship challenge.
Oh, and then here's the other thing is this. Okay, got a couple kind of fun ones for people. So, what do you guys think is the BMM and the Defender special link? A few people suspect that the Defender will be able to dock with the BMM, and the BMM will be able to use it as a weapon. So that's one people's theory that's going around, is that people think that it will be able to do that. I think other people, like I've mentioned, I thought it will have like some like a buff or something, like a kind of its shields get buffed or something like that, along those lines. It'll get like some.
Did they say there's a different special link other than the docs on it?
Well, no. They said that people have guessed it correctly. They said on the thing, people have guessed it. But he won't say who has guessed it correctly, but he said in the Spectrum that it has been mentioned and it has been accurately mentioned what the Defenders and the BMMs, what it is going to be their special. The special bond or whatever those two ships are supposed to have. So if it's docking, then that's just a pile of shit, because we know docking ain't working, so that's not something to look forward to. If they say to me that it's docking and it will be able to dock and it'll be able to use it as a weapon, I'll be like, what, like the Merlin in the back of the Connie?
I think it'll be docking.
I won't hold my breath for that. You think so? It has to be something that they don't actually have to make, right? It's something they don't actually have to do.
It turning into a gun for the ship, what would be the point? Like, if you've got a pilot to use it as surely a flying gun is better than a fixed one fixed to the actual ship itself. I can't,
See, everyone does think it's going to be like it'll become part of the ship, which would make sense if it's supposed to fly with it. In theory, you should be able to refuel.
They've never said it would dock. I mean, that would make
the BMM.
Would that make the Battle Merchant worth even more money? I mean, it wouldn't come with it. Would they then start selling it with? Because it doesn't come with the Defender now. Is it something that they would then? add it to it.
I thought it was.
I mean, if that's the case, fucking go and buy a BMM because it'll double in price if it adds a Banu to it as well.
Yeah, you're gonna have to buy the Banu to make the full thing work. You need the Banu as well to make it 100%. I mean, that's a sort of CIG. That's a good money.
The Banu Defender is the cockpit for. I mean, the Defender is the cockpit for the Merchantman.
Literally, that's the toy industry. The toy industry is like, okay, you buy this toy and you get a little piece of another toy. Then if you buy all the other 4 part of that family, those 4 pieces then connect to make the masterpiece. When you connect all of those 4 or 5 toys together, that's the next level of StarCitizen. Shit, I wish I hadn't said that now. CIG, did ignore me, Sandy. It's a terrible idea. Don't do it. Don't do it, Sandy. It's not going to work. It will work, but don't do it. Yeah, it's a horrible
Someone's
idea.
on that picture, but they think it would dock in the top somehow.
Yeah, see? Yeah,
God, it looks tiny compared to the Banu. Is that really the right size scale?
I don't know.
Jeez.
Like,
it's the cockpit.
It's super exciting, though.
Once that flies off, you've got no cockpit for your Banu Merchantman.
It does make me think like I should get a BMM, because if I fall in love with the Defender, but then a part of me knows fully well that ships, you can't fall in love with any ship. If you fall in love with the ship, you're doomed. I fell in love with the Glaive, it got trash. I fell in love with the Gladius, they kind of killed it, and then they brought it back again when I sold it. Every ship I ever fall in love with, they make crap, then they make great when I've sold it or got rid of it. So I'm tortured. How to break into an 890. I didn't know this, by the way. Does anyone want to know how you can break into an 890 and any shipping game?
I saw that. Any shipping
game. Basically, get on a vehicle like a Dragonfly or Nox, fly up to it, and then when you get out of your seat, it ignores collision, so you can go through any ship. That's it. That's it. Park next to it and get out. Exactly as easy as that. I didn't know that. Now I will be trying it out all the time. That ultimately terrifies me, because do you remember when they were constantly been talking about how they want to create like venting in ships? They want to do all these other kind of very complicated kind of sealed environments within spaceships. And I kind of, a part of me kind of goes, wow, that's really brave, CIG, because at the moment, like, you can drop a box through your spaceships. You know what I mean? It's like, and you're talking about creating perfectly sealed environments. I've never been in a game where you can't glitch somewhere through something. You know what I mean? It's just like, there isn't been a game that I haven't been able to glitch something or somewhere through something, or I've accidentally. I did it in Borderlands the other day. I shot some NPC and he went through a wall, and then he was stuck kind of like behind like a kind of a weird kind of stuck in a corner type of thing. It's just, that's when I hear those things, I kind of go, you guys are you wasting time? Is the best way to describe it. Are you actually wasting your time and everyone's time and money, going after dreams that are realistically impossible? That's maybe a conversation for another day. I
think,
example of the flight model. I'm just thinking if there's any. I really want to end on a super.
End on a nice,
super
positive thing. What have we got? What have we got? Somewhere.
Don't read any of my texts. Anything which has got capitals usually me swearing about something. Mandalorian bounty armor? No, that's boring. Oh God, I'll save that for myself. Anybody give me something? Someone in chat, tell me something really positive that you're really happy
about.
What
are you really looking forward to in 3.7? Yeah. Evo Carti coming around the corner, maybe. That's really.
What are you? Well, actually, we got the roadmap. Why don't we? Did you see? There's 2 things that were. Yeah. The ship shop showdown. The ship shop
showdown. What the fuck is that? First of all, what is the ship shop showdown? Chip shop showdown.
Okay, because we got a little bit. We got a little bit of time, and we have been away for 4 weeks.
We've gone way too long than we should have done.
Thank you, Smiling.
Viking. Yeah, there we go.
You are right. That is huge. That is like as big as, in my opinion, that is when they give us the ability to buy ships in game. The next thing is that, for me personally, that is huge. Definitely Viking. That is going to be fantastic.
Okay, we can end it now.
And the
Bye.
ability to share missions. That's really great. No, the Ship Showdown is a month-long birthday celebration of galactic proportions. So you basically choose your favorite ship, and then you send them pictures, either from real life or from the game or whatever. Just kind of cool pictures of stuff. It's like their way of kind of engaging with us, with the community. And then
So is it just that
you win an arrow or something if you're selected? You can win prizes and
so
stuff.
is it just because that's what I couldn't really grasp what it was. So is it just basically like a fancy way of doing a poll of what's your favourite ship? So you all submit what your favourite ship is, and then they basically add it all up and say, well, this one come top. Is that what it is?
I think so. It's that whole kind of more info here. Let me see. They got it on the StarCitizen celebration, a month-long celebration. Voice your support for your favorite flyable, drivable vehicle, and help secure it a spot by submitting an original creation. The top 16 ships.
An original creation.
So he said ships when he meant to say was vehicles, because he said vehicles earlier, but now it's ships. With the most compelling submissions will make it to the Ship Showdown. So it's already, don't bother taking a drivable vehicle, because everything after that section is all about ships. So don't worry, you're going to lose if you take a picture of a land vehicle. We'll go head to head in the ultimate tournament of aerospace, again, air in space, championships. So don't forget to upvote and share your favorite creations and help support your vehicle. Now we're back to vehicles again, of choice. As a spot in our final tour of the Celebrity Smackdown will not only win your ship, it's time for the peripheral limelight, blah, 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 kind of original creation. Yeah, cool. I mean,
I still don't get it. Like, original creation, so I've got to, if I like a javelin, I've got to create a model of a javelin to say, that's my favourite ship. Is that what it means by creation, or does it mean a screenshot is a creation?
You have to look at the links to it. Do you want me to drop you a link in chat or something? Like literally, someone did like a sandcastle of a 300 series.
Right. So if I got a pumpkin and did a pumpkin of an arrow. Yeah. Right. So you've got to actually create.
Like
something.
if you hand sketched the glaive, or you 3D modeled, like someone did the reclaimer, beautiful like little.
So if I 3D print my really crap dragonfly.
Yeah.
Say, there you go. Dragonfly is my favourite shit. This doesn't look like a dragonfly, but believe me, it's a dragonfly. Okay.
It's more of the contest, the picture. Like someone did Lego.
So it's a creative. It's basically a contest for creative people to get creative and do something creative of their favourite ship. Okay. That's cool.
And I'm like, it's cool.
It's nice. It's something different from just go and grab a screenshot. Probably because they probably tried to do something to stop that. What's his name?
Winning all the time.
Yeah, that screenshot. Herty, I can't fucking pronounce his name.
Yeah, oh god, he wins it.
He wins every time. It's like, right, we need a competition where he's not going to win it. Okay, let's get people to create something that's not a screenshot. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's cool. Cool enough. But then it's like the ship that's going to win is people that's got the best creative talent.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I've carved this carrot out of a bar of soap using a toothpick.
Again, yeah, exactly. But then a part of me is like, well, again, it depends on how what they're looking for. Again, in terms of it comes back to that whole envision of what art is. Like if these guys who are judging it, again, it's so subjective. It's like whoever's enjoying. If they like realism, you know what I mean? Then they're only going to choose any piece of art that looks realistic. And avocado cutting.
I'm going to get a rampant rabbit, and it's going to be the freelancer Max.
Yeah. But there's some hilarious ones where people have been doing like Captain Morgan with the Banu hat on his head, or like Riker with like holding the Banu as a phaser and stuff. Like they're funny. There's some really funny ones. I mean, I like it. I think it's cool. I'm a fan. But I'm a creative person, so and I think it gives them something to do. It connects again with a little bit of community, interaction, which we seriously, would kind of lacking sometimes. And there's so many people do so many things for CIG.
So how long have people got?
Like web pages.
How long have people got to do their creations?
8 days. 8 more days.
Jesus, that ain't long.
You've got 8 days.
I've got to wait for it to snow so I can do a snow sculpture. Jeez, hurry up. That's
Don't
the
worry,
only thing I'm
Microtech's
creative
here
in. Come on, snow damage.
Just wait for Microtech, and then you'll do it again. The ship showdown. So yeah, that's kind of cool. And then the roadmap. The other good thing, which I think people said in chat as well before we go, we're just going to leave it on a positive as well, is the roadmap roundup.
I did put this link. Oh yeah. Go on. Sorry, that was good.
That's good. Like we talked about it before, and we said that this is a good thing from CIG where they are communication. And I think if they stick to it and keep it up, the most important thing is they keep this going. If they really serious about this, and it really because for me this is almost like doing a little bit of a deep dive without having to do the videos. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of, they give us a little bit of deeper information into reasons for things without having to bring the development team in onto a video with Disco. This is cool. This is good. They may find themselves, the problem is that what they might find is that they may say something here, and then they'll get asked a million questions about it. You know what I mean? And then they'll have to clarify, and then we'll get a video with Disco doing the video anyway to clarify. And so we'll do it in reverse. So what we used to do before was you do the video, then they would then put it on Spectrum, the clarification.
Yeah, now you get the clarification.
Now we'll get the text, and then we'll get the video to kind of clarify it. But it's the video, the text, then the text, and then the video, because people still be confused. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I think it's good. I mean, there's a few things on here. The Cutlass Blue. Oh my God, the Cutlass Blue. Move back again. Jesus. Rentals. The rentals have been updated to reflect the remaining work. Upcoming debut in Alpha 3.7. Can't wait for that. That's going to be interesting to see what they price everything at. The whole sea, we'll see.
So one other thing I was going to show, which was someone had done the ship compare. I don't know if anyone's seen it. Probably most people have on Twitter now, which is a kind of cool feature. I'm going to cough now, so I'll just put it on the screen and cough. Great, this cold is killing me. Somebody else doing it, not CIG, is built a tool so that you can put the ships in that you want to do, and then you can compare it to other ships. So you can compare it to other ships within StarCitizen, but they've also added a load of stuff that's not in StarCitizen. So like here you can see the size of the Mercury Star Runner compared to the size of the Millennium Falcon. Just a cool little tool, I thought. It is.
Yeah, I do think that's very, very cool. And actually, as we talk about nice positive things, I've got a really nice image for you, which is what we want from Caves 31.
Okay.
This is what we're going to get. Like we're talking about caves and light and being able to kind of thing. This is like a wallpaper that somebody's done with a BMM.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, nice.
And it's so pretty. It's like if this is like your dream cave in a way, because you've got all this natural light coming in. You can see everything.
Oh shit!
And it's got
I thought I'd muted there.
It's all right. And then you got the water and the moss, and then they've even got like the technology in the wall. Like whoever did this did just such a good job with this wallpaper. I'm definitely going to put this on my desktop. I think it's such a nice. You don't know, it's probably too big.
I'm gonna have to like shrink the fuck it out.
It's like huge.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that's gonna just.
You'll have to shrink the. Yeah, you'll have to shrink the your. Yeah, you go. There it is.
Magic.
There it is. There it is. I think it was a really nice wallpaper. Again, I don't know if this is an official CIG one or I think it's just a fan made one.
No, it's not. If you look, it's been photoshopped and stuff. It's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, again, fan made one's doing such. They got me so moist. Is the best way to describe it. Like even if you look at it, the more you look at the picture, the more details come to light. So you've got this amazingly cool tree with
and underneath it's like a little gate or something on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then look to the left. You'll see there's a Banu race guy there. With his little light on his little stick and stuff in the corner on the left-hand side. Kind of, he's obviously wandering around doing whatever he's doing. He's got like a little tent type thing. Maybe he's gathering something or, I'm looking forward to Caves in terms of, I really want to see what the mechanic is for Caves in terms of like how you're going to make money from it. Because at the moment, it's very small kind of amount you can carry. So it's like, how are you going to make money from this? Because if you don't make money from this, I'm not being funny, people will drop it pretty quickly if rentals is in at the same time and you want to make money. You know what I mean? People will try it and test it and stuff, but people want to make cash. So if they want people to test that feature, they'll need to really give people a financial reason, I think. to really push if you want to keep it going. What's the other cool thing? Yeah, that's kind of it, really.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to leave on. Looks good. Something we're looking forward to.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So yeah. So once again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Appreciate your support. I know we've been away for a long time. I don't know whether we're going to be doing, depending on, as always, before we even stopped, depending on the information we get from CIG, whether we're doing this every week or whether we do an after-hours show instead. It's just that we can only give you what they give us. We can only talk about interesting topics. So hopefully there's enough information from them. We never know. We may even have EvoCarT testing 3.7. By the time next Monday, who knows? But yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for supporting us as always. If you missed the start of the show, or you want to watch any of it, you can find it on YouTube later. Anything else you want to add, Manus?
Yeah. No, I think you kind of pretty much covered it. Oh yeah, we'll be here every Monday. We'll be on this channel, so come in and check us out on 9 o'clock. If we're not here, it'll be check us out. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. It'll be just to say either one of us is sick or if I'm traveling with work, for example, because in the next couple of weeks, probably in the next 3 weeks, I'll probably be off to Asia, or Miz is probably taking another one of his 12 holidays that he usually tends to take a year. He loves to take his holidays. That'll be the reasons why we may not necessarily do a show, but we do the after hours show, which we'll be doing, playing games, playing other things, doing things. So if you enjoy, you want to talk to us about stuff, we're always talking. If we're playing another game, we'll always be happy to talk about StarCitizen. It's our kind of a main game that we love. We're always interested. We're always talking about it. But we want to do other things, as we said about this before on the show. We just at the moment, we desperately need a new PC. I do anyway. I desperately need a new PC.
We're playing a bit of Borderlands and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah. Come check us. Yeah, come in, hang out, and yeah. Cool.
And now I can even stream to Discord, which is cool. So sometimes there's private shows on Discord. If you want to come and join Discord, you're welcome to come do so.
Yeah. We'll there's, as always, there's things that we like to do, and it's very an organic process. We take our time kind of going through things as we figure things out and see if it's right. We don't rush in, and try not to rush in anyway.
Exactly. Okay, guys, thanks everybody. Cheers. And we'll catch you all later. Goodbye.
See you all later. Yeah. See you all later.
Use this screen because I've got